in this ninja world, I'm the one in charge now. Uzumaki Naraku. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76. Sorry, you can't leave today. Haha, Danzo gasped. His clothes were torn in many places and he looked very embarrassed. Only the grey-white arm looked very eye-catching. There seemed to be several small holes in the grey-white skin, and the scarlet Sharingan was embedded in it. But at this time, many small holes have been closed, leaving only a scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan. Naraku basically understands Danzo's abilities. He just needs to be on guard against the opponent using Shisu's main Jiki Sharingan at all times. Let's see how long you can last. Kai. The golden Susanoo swung his sword again, and the golden sword light came out, tearing the air, and hitting Danzo again. Earth. Escape. Earth formation arm. At this moment, a hoarse voice came, and then the ground shook violently, and an earth wall several meters high blocked the sword light. Boom. Boom. The moment the sword light came into contact with the earth wall, the latter disintegrated like a collapse of earth, and the sword light directly penetrated the earth wall. However, although the earth wall collapsed, it also bought Danzo time. At this time, he had already appeared in another direction and escaped the attack of the sword light. Sandai, you are finally here. Looking at the thin man wearing a black combat uniform not far away, Naraku raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and his hateful eyes appeared in his sight again. Compared to Danzo, who was already heinous, Naraku felt that the current third generation was even more hateful. Although he didn't know why the current third generation was so different from the original work, Naraku didn't care about it. Since he traveled to this ninja world, everything in the original work could only be used as a reference by him. No matter what kind of person he is in the original work of Sandai, Naraku will never forgive him now. In order to consolidate his power, he allowed Danzo to do all the bottomless things without any restrictions. The tailed beast rebellion, when Kushina gave birth a few years ago, the suppression of Uchiha, and the house arrest of Naruto to do such a thing to him. The third generation may not have been directly involved in these things, but none of them have anything to do with him. Everything Danzo did was due to his Sarutobi Hiruzen. Thinking of this, Naraku's scarlet eyes exuded endless coldness. Looking at the two people in front of him, there was only one word in his heart: kill. The next moment, powerful chakra and pupil energy exuding hatred burst out at the same time, and a violent aura spread out from Naraku's body. Dazzling golden light emitted from the golden Susan, and the next moment a golden sword appeared. Susan, holding the sword in both hands, exuded a more powerful aura than before. Kai. The golden Susanoo kept swinging his sword, and the golden sword light filled the sky and struck forward fiercely. Looking at the dazzling golden light in front of him, Sandai's expression gradually became heavy. Hiruzen, let's go together and deal with this kid completely. At this moment, Danzo's voice came over. The third generation who heard this did not respond, but quickly formed seals with his hands. The next moment, his figure quietly disappeared underground. Earth escape, the art of beheading in the heart. Danzo on the side immediately stopped hesitating. When he saw this, his chakra instantly exploded, and he rushed madly in one direction. Evacuate here quickly, Danzo murmured in his heart, and then a scroll appeared in his hand. I hope you won't disappoint me. With a bang, the scroll disappeared. Oh, can you escape? Looking at Danzo's back, Naraku snorted coldly. As for the third generation, how could his actions escape Naraku, who had the main Gekkai Sharingan? He quickly raised his hands and completed several marks in an instant. Naraku kicked the ground with both feet, exerted force fiercely, and jumped up. Fire release, dragon fire flame bullet. A ball of deep red flames like lava spit out from his mouth, and the flames turned into a hot fire bullet and blasted towards the ground. Boom. There was an ear-splitting noise, and a deep pit appeared in Naraku's sight. As expected of the third Hokage, who is called the Ninja Professor, his reaction speed is really fast. Naraku suddenly turned his head and looked behind him, only to see the Sandai who had just disappeared emerge from the ground behind him. Uzumaki Naraku, I didn't expect you to have grown to this point. You are worthy of being Minato's younger brother. The third generation had a look of emotion on his face, as if he was caring about his younger generation. To this extent, looking at Sanday's extremely familiar face, Naraku felt that the other party was extremely hypocritical. In fact, he wanted to tell the third generation that his ability to grow so fast was inseparable from the third generation himself. If he had to give a reason, isn't this all because of you? Naraku looked indifferent point afterwards. Neither of the two parties spoke. The two momentums of understanding collided in the air, and for a moment the surrounding air fluctuated like a tide point. The next moment, a silver long knife appeared in Naraku's hand, and light blue arcs of electricity emerged on his body. Call out. His body suddenly jumped out, as fast as a thunder shadow, and appeared in front of the third generation in the blink of an eye. As for the golden half of Susan, under the control of Naraku, he floated and caught up with Danzo, holding a golden giant sword, and fighting with him. Since using Susanoo, Naraku has discovered that his Susanoo can fight separately from the main body, but it requires a certain amount of mental power. This discovery made Naraku very happy. He remembered that in the original work, only Uchiha Itachi's Susan could fight separately from the main body, and no one else could. King Khan Ruai stick. The third generation here summoned a humanoid old ape, and then the opponent turned into an iron rod, and was held by the third generation in his hand. Kai. Suddenly a sound broke through the air. It was Naraku. At this time, he raised his sword, and launched an attack on Sanday. A sword flashing with blue lightning, tore through the air and struck hard at the third generation. Clang. Sanday raised his stick to block, and almost at the moment of contact, he felt a numbing feeling pass from the iron stick to his hand. The third generation did not dare to be careless. Chakra instantly exploded in his hands, dispelling the numb feeling. The next moment, the iron rod swept across, and Naraku was forced to retreat. Everyone in the ninja world knows that his third generation is extremely good at various ninjutsu, but few people know that his physical skills are also very good. Although Naraku possesses the perverted observation ability of the main Gekai Sharingan, coupled with Kumogakure's extremely fast reaction ability derived from stimulating the cells of the Thunder Escape secret technique, but he still couldn't suppress the third generation physically, and the battle between the two reached a stalemate for a while. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from Naraku's eyes. Well, a cry of pain came from Naraku's mouth. What's going on? Naraku didn't have time to think too much, kicking his feet on the ground and retreating quickly, keeping distance from the third generation. He turned to look to the side, and suddenly understood what was going on. In his sight, a sinister smile once again appeared on Danzo's face at this time. Uzumaki Naraku, you are indeed too young. I, the elder, will leave today. Then, he turned around, and ran in one direction. I'm so sorry, you can't leave today. The next moment, Naraku, who was still in front of the third generation, disappeared in an instant. Danzo, who was running wildly, showed a horrified expression. Chapter 77. The left eye is instantly empty, and the right eye is black and thunderous. How could you be so fast? Looking at Naraku standing in front of him, Danzo turned back, and glanced behind him. At this time, the third generation was standing more than 1,000 meters away from him. You can't even fly the Thunder God? Danzo asked. Except for the time and space ninjutsu like the Flying Thunder God, he couldn't think of any ninjutsu that could move so fast. Flying Thunder God. Naraku just shook his head slightly, and didn't explain anything. Flying Thunder God, as Minato's signature ninjutsu, that made him famous in the ninja world. Naraku is also very coveted for it, but practicing Flying Thunder God requires meeting many conditions, which he currently cannot meet. So what he just used was not the Flying Thunder God's time and space ninjutsu, but the ability of his left eye's main Gekai Sharingan. It is somewhat similar to Sasuke's Tenshou in the original work, but it seems to be more practical. Naraku named this move Shankan. He roughly measured it, and found that with himself as the center, within a range of 3 kilometers around him, he could move instantly wherever he looked. Naraku is very satisfied with this ability. In some aspects, he is stronger than Tenshou and Flying Thunder God. However, this move also has a big disadvantage, that is, it consumes a lot of mana. He only used it once, and found that nearly 1/5 of the chakra and eye power in his body were consumed. This consumption is very huge compared to Susanoo. You must know that the chakra and eye power consumed by Susanoo he just used for so long was only about 1/5. Let's deal with you first. Naraku shook his head, his scarlet eyes staring at Danzo in front of him. Point at this time, the golden Susan also enveloped Naraku's body again, and you can see that several deep pits appeared on Susan's body at this time. Point Susanoo, who is known as the strongest defense, was breached. Naraku was not surprised by this. Although Susanoo was strong, he was not invincible. Not to mention the opponents who cheated in the later stages of the plot. Even in the current ninja world, there are many people who can break Susanoo's defense. What's more, in the original work, Danzo once relied on the combination of wind escape ninjutsu and psychic beasts to break through Susan's defense. Not good. At this time, the third generation seemed to have noticed something, and he ran towards this direction very quickly. Haha, it's too late. Naraku sneered when he saw this, and then a strange energy emitted from his right eye, followed by a stream of blood tears flowing from his right eye, and chakra and eye power burned. A jet black flame suddenly appeared on Danzo's body. The originally weak flame instantly became strong when it contaminated Danzo's clothes. It is the flame of Amaterasu, known as the flame that never goes out. Although he had never seen Amaterasu, Danzo felt intense uneasiness in his heart. Without hesitation, he raised his hand and grabbed his sleeves, ready to take off his coat. How could I let you succeed? Crack, crack. Suddenly there was a roar of thunder and lightning, and black arcs suddenly appeared on top of the black flames on Danzo's body. These black arcs were so powerful that just the moment of contact, Danzo's body became charred in many places. At the same time, a strong sense of paralysis spread throughout his body, and the arm that had just grabbed the sleeve stopped. Black Flame Thunder. This is the name Naraku got for the ability brought by his right eye. Black Flame Thunder not only has the characteristics of Amaterasu's never extinguishing, but also has the power of thunder and lightning. The two complement each other, and can be used together or separately. The characteristic of lightning paralysis just makes up for Amaterasu's shortcomings. Eyes energy. Danzo here opened his mouth slightly and struggled to spit out 4 words. Just when he thought he could turn it all into an illusion again, he suddenly smelled a burning smell. Danzo looked down and saw that black flames had covered his body, and a wisp of black smoke came out of him. Danzo suddenly became violent. He clearly remembered that he still had a Sharingan. I want to say goodbye to Elder Danzo. At this moment, the golden Susanoo covering Naraku's body suddenly moved, and with a fierce swing of his right arm, several golden sword lights struck Danzo in an instant. Kai, kai, kai. Sounds broke through the air one after another. This time, Danzo had no means to escape. Even the third generation who had just arrived was too late to rescue him. Puff, puff. The golden sword light fell directly on Danzo, and bright red blood splashed out. Boom. Danzo, whose body was covered with black flames, fell straight to the ground. Even now, he still has an incredible expression on his face. I will. Danzo opened his mouth to say something, but in the end nothing came out. Danzo, the third generation murmured, but he did not feel any life breath in the black flame. Yes, Danzo was already dead at this time. After being continuously burned by Amaterasu for so long, his body had become dilapidated. As time passed, the black flame continued to shrink, and soon there was only a lump the size of an arm fell. As expected of an arm made of first generation cells, it is so powerful that even Amaterasu cannot burn it. Naraku murmured, and then he put the black flame back into his right eye, and suddenly he felt a stinging sensation in his right eye. He knew that this was the drawback of the Manjaki Sharingan. Once used excessively, there was even a risk of blindness. Shaking his head, Naraku knew that now was not the time to think about this. Although Danzo was dead, there was still a third generation. Naraku turned his head and looked forward, where the third generation just looked up at him. Without any words, the two sides once again started a fierce battle. The third generation, known as the Ninja Professor, has almost no shortcomings. He is extremely good at ninjutsu and taijutsu, and his body is flexible, so it is difficult for Susanoo to cause any harm to him. since Susanoo was useless. Luckily Naraku dismissed him directly. After all, maintaining Susanoo requires the consumption of chakra and eye power. Although the amount is not large, it is shameful to waste it. Point clang. The long knife collided with the iron rod, and Naraku felt a strong shock force coming from the blade. The tiger's mouth was painful, and the long knife almost came out of his hand. Point obviously, in terms of strength, the young Naraku is not the opponent of the third generation. If that's the case, then, Naraku thought to himself, the next moment, black flame thunder. With a low cry, chakra and eye power exploded again, and a line of blood and tears flowed out of his right eye again. Naraku felt an unbearable pain in his right eye. At the same time, a black flame ignited on Sanday's body. At the same time, there was black thunder and lightning hidden in the flame, making bursts of roaring sounds. Chapter 78 The Fifth Hokage, Tsunade. Fire, thunder and lightning, they are really difficult to deal with. While a strong tingling sensation spread throughout Sanday's body, he also felt a strong burning sensation. I can't even move my body. The third generation who tried to form the seal only shook his arm slightly twice. It was obvious that his body was temporarily paralyzed. Point boom. At this moment, a burst of white mist appeared, and the iron rod in Sanday's hand turned back into a monkey demon. Hiruzen. The monkey demon exclaimed. He who was in the iron rod state just now also saw the scene where Danzo was burned to death by black flames. He knew the power of this black flame. Point even the third generation has no good way to escape at this time. Point swish. At this moment, a tall figure appeared here with long white hair and oil paint on his face. It was Jiraiya. This is the first time he saw this. He saw the third generation covered in black flames. He only felt that the black flames gave him an irresistible feeling. Ninja. Without any hesitation, Jiraiya quickly formed seals with his hands, then took out a scroll and attached it to the third generation. The black flames were gradually absorbed by the scroll. At this time, Naraku, who was on the side, also saw this scene. Although he was unwilling to do so, he did not take action. After all, Jiraiya is his teacher, and he is very kind to himself, Kushina, and Naruto. Even if he must kill the third generation, he must not do it in front of Jiraiya. Point after the black flame was sealed by Jiraiya, the paralysis on the third generation also disappeared, and he resumed action. Point however, after being hit by Amaterasu's flames and black thunder at the same time, his current condition was not good. The black combat uniform on his body had become tattered, and pieces of charred rotten flesh could be seen everywhere. It was pretty good that he was still standing at this point. Jiraiya. Looking at the disciples in front of him, the third generation looked extremely depressed at this time. With the support of the monkey demon, he limped away from here. Kushina. Uzumaki wakes up, gives the position of director of Konoha Hospital, and announces the identity of Naruto Uzumaki. The hoarse voice reached Naruto's ears, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Sister, I did it. Naraku's tense expression, until this moment, relaxed, and his scarlet eyes slowly dissipated. A strong feeling of exhaustion came from Naraku, and the next moment he closed his eyes and fainted. Ever since Kushina woke up, Naraku's expression has been tense, and he has fought against shadow-level powerhouses such as Danzo and Orochimaru. Especially after activating the main Gekkai Sharingan, a large amount of chakra and eye power were consumed. Now, even though he still has some remaining chakra in his body, the strong feeling of fatigue cannot be avoided no matter what. That's why he suddenly fainted when he relaxed. Seeing this, Jiraiya quickly stretched out his hand to support him. Point swish. At this moment, a silver figure appeared with long silver hair and a black mask. It was Kakashi. Point looking at Naraku, who fell in Jiraiya's arms. Kakashi showed a hint of worry in his eyes. He was just too tired and fainted, Jiraiya explained. Probably because he was afraid that Kakashi would think too much. Hearing this, Kakashi's expression softened a lot. Kakashi, something may trouble you, Jiraiya said with a heavy expression. Please, tell me. 1 month later. Today's Konoha is much livelier than before, and even the streets aligned with festive red lanterns, whether they were civilians or ninjas. Everyone walking on the street had a happy smile on their face. Point. But if you look carefully, you will find many masked people patrolling back and forth in the darkness of the village. Point in the Uchiha clan's clan. Today, Fugaku has changed from his previous majesty. At this time, his face is full of smiles, and the sadness that has always been between his eyebrows seems to have disappeared. At this time, he was standing at the gate of the clan, and behind him were dozens of Uchiha clan members. Swish. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind Fugaku, with a sword on his back, a doughy nose, and a hairstyle that looked like standing barbs. The person who came was none other than Shizu. At this time, he whispered a few words into Fugaku's ear. The latter's original happy mood disappeared instantly, and a look of anger appeared on his face. But he was quickly suppressed. What a bunch of old fools. Don't they still understand the current situation? He thought secretly in his heart. Then he walked out of the clan with dozens of people behind him. Shizu walked at the back, looking at the current Uchiha with a smile on his face. Although the cancer is still there, the symptoms have recovered a lot. Right, Itachi. As he said that, he turned his head and looked to the side. There were two deep ravines on his face that looked a little young, but it looked a little mature. Uchiha Itachi. Yes, Shizu, I believe Uchiha can coexist with the village. Well, it will definitely happen, Shizu agreed from the side. And your Sharingan, I will definitely help you find it, Itachi added in his mind. Then they set off to follow the group. Like the Uchiha clan, there is the Hyuga clan. Hinata Hizu also set off with dozens of clan members and many gifts at the same time. All the families in Konoha village, big and small, made the same move as them. Nara, Yamanaka, Akimichi, Dogtooth, Aburame. Without exception, all the ninja families in Konoha village prepared a generous gift and set off under the leadership of their clan leader or clan elder in a hidden courtyard in Konoha village. There are neat flowers and plants around the walls, and the extremely clean ground in the courtyard. This courtyard seems to have just been renovated, and everything looks brand new. Naruto, Naraku, hurry up and get ready to go out. You have to attend a very important ceremony today. A familiar voice sounded. It was Kushina with long fiery red hair and fair face. Not long after he finished speaking, a young figure staggered out of the room. He has short golden hair and a beard that does not match his age. He is his eldest nephew Uzumaki Naruto. I saw that he was wearing a black nightgown at this time, and his two little hands kept rubbing his eyes, as if he hadn't woken up yet. Naruto, hurry up, or your mother will get angry again later. Naraku reached out and put his hand on Naruto's head and rubbed it twice. Go. With what nonsense are you talking about? Kushina knocked Naraku's hand off. Hurry up and wash up. The ceremony is about to begin. Then he squatted down, and a kind smile appeared on Kushina's face. Naruto, can you wash up quickly? Mommy will take you to a lively ceremony later. Alright. Naruto nodded and glanced at Naraku's back. He didn't understand why his uncle always said that his mother was fierce. Konoha Plaza. A lot of people gathered in Konoha Square today, but everyone's eyes were focused on the figure in the center of the square. That was a woman with blonde hair, and no one in Konoha didn't know her. Her name is Tsunade Senju, the 5th generation Hokage. Chapter 79. 3 years. Meet the 9th. 3 years passed by in a flash, and it was Konoha's 51st year. Konoha Training Ground number 1. Yo. Z. Uncle, you have to be careful. I have already refined chakra now. He had short golden hair and 6 beards on his face. It was Naruto who spoke. He was over 5 years old and looked much older than before. Ugh, it turns out that raising a baby is really annoying. Naraku couldn't help but complain in his heart. Ever since Kushina took Naruto to Uchiha Makoto's house some time ago, this guy started shouting about what ninjutsu he wanted to learn every day, and he also said he wanted to defeat Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto here didn't wait for Naraku's reply. He had already begun to gather chakra, and a light blue energy visible to the naked eye slowly emerged from his body. Although Naruto is still very young, he has a lot of chakra at this time. Although he has not completely inherited the bloodline of Kushina's Uzumaki clan, he has inherited the advantage of having a huge amount of chakra. How about it, uncle? Am I a genius? Naruto said with a proud look on his face. Boom. Naraku hit Naruto's little head with a violent shock. What a genius. How are you doing with the ninjutsu I taught you yesterday? Looking at the crude Naruto in front of him, Naraku couldn't help but sigh in his heart. My sister's genes are really strong. In Fact, he has been trying to change Naruto's personality in the past few years, not to mention training him to be like his uncle, who is as calm and wise as he is, and he looks like the kind of handsome man with superior IQ point at the very least. He must be like his father Minato, a sunny, handsome, and reliable man who makes everyone look good, but in the end, he gave up the idea. It was Naruto who made him understand that one's innate personality cannot be changed. Although the change failed, Naraku also felt that it was not a big deal, as long as Naruto lived happily. Ninjutsu, ninjutsu. Naruto here suddenly stuttered, and he murmured softly, that shadow clone technique is too difficult. What are you doing? Hurry up and let me test how far you have practiced. I heard that Sasuke Uchiha has mastered a fire escape ninjutsu. What? Then I must master the shadow clone technique today. Naruto made a fist with one hand, and a touch of determination appeared on his small face. The next moment, he began to form seals with his hands. Because Naraku asked Naruto to practice in advance, he can form seals very quickly now, almost catching up with his speed when he was a child. Naruto, who quickly completed the seal, shouted, "Shadow clone jutsu." Boom, boom. Two clouds of white mist instantly appeared on the field, and then after the smoke dissipated, two white human-shaped objects appeared in the sight of the two people. The next moment, gusts of breeze blew by, and the two humanoid objects began to shake violently, and then fell directly to the ground. This. Naruto's face turned slightly red, and he wanted to defend himself, but he couldn't find any reason for the moment. Naraku frowned slightly. When Naruto's chakra was running, he felt as if another energy was interfering. After a slight hesitation, Naraku closed his eyes, and Kagura's inner eye instantly opened. In this state, he clearly felt that there was another powerful energy in Naruto's body. It is worth mentioning that over the past 3 years, the area covered by Naraku Kagura's inner eye has expanded several times, and now any energy fluctuation within a kilometer will be detected by him. Sure enough, it's you who is causing trouble, Kyuubi, Naraku murmured. In fact, he had already guessed about this. Whether it was Kushina or Minato, their talents were not bad, especially Minato, a man who was better than anyone else. His talents were unparalleled in the entire ninja world. It's top notch. As the product of love between the two of them, Naruto's talent cannot be inferior. This can also be seen from the rapid growth of his strength in the later period of the original work point. Although there was some cheating involved, it was undeniable that Naruto's talent was indeed very strong. In that case, let's go see you, Kyuubi. Naruto, why haven't you succeeded yet? Naruto, who was still thinking about the shadow clone technique, raised his head slightly after hearing the voice. What's wrong, uncle? Naruto, who hadn't finished speaking, fainted immediately after seeing those scarlet eyes. Let me meet our old friend, Kyuubi. A powerful life force burst out, and the next moment Naraku's consciousness came to a sewer-like ground. Sure enough, it's the same as the original. The environment is really bad. Naraku raised his head and looked around. The water under his feet had reached his ankles. Fortunately, this was just his consciousness. Naraku didn't care. He raised his head and continued walking forward. Soon a huge cage appeared in front of him. The cage is 100 meters high, and a special swirl pattern can be seen in the center. Whoosh! At this moment, a violent energy appeared in the cage. Even through the seal, Naraku could clearly feel the powerful energy fluctuations inside. A pair of vertical pupils as big as a lantern appeared in Naraku's sight. Someone actually broke in. Red-haired brat, are you? Looking at Naraku's conspicuous short red hair, Kyuubi asked in his mouth. Suddenly the air in front of Kyuubi fluctuated, and the next moment, Naraku, who was still outside the cage, appeared in front of Kyuubi, with a dazzling red light radiating from his eyes. Hello, Kyuubi, I'm Naraku Uzumaki, Kushina's younger brother. Naraku introduced himself first. Kushina's younger brother, a member of the Uzumaki clan. But how come you have these eyes? Looking at those scarlet eyes, a trace of fear flashed in Kyuubi's eyes. Regarding the Sharingan, Kyuubi hates it extremely but also has a trace of fear in his heart. He will never forget the days when he was dominated by the Sharingan. It was his shame point perhaps, because of the shock of the Sharingan. Kyuubi's attitude towards Naraku was not that bad. "You're talking about these eyes," Naraku said, pointing to his own eyes. "Of course I'm born with it, but I came to see you today for something else. We can talk about the Sharingan later. From now on, when my nephew Uzumaki Naruto is training, you should be more honest and don't interfere with him. After all, his improvement in strength won't do you any harm, right?" "Humph, what does that brat's training have to do with me?" Kyuubi snorted, then closed his eyes and lay down directly, as if he didn't want to communicate with Naraku anymore. Forehead. Naraku frowned slightly, and his scarlet eyes fell on Kyuubi, just as he was preparing the kaleidoscope to teach him how to be a human being. "Uzumaki Naraku, do you know who was extracting my chakra at that time?" At this moment Kyuubi spoke, but what he said made Naraku's expression change. Chapter 80 Mission, Inquiring about Information. Naraku stared at the Kyuubi in front of him. He had doubts about who was extracting the Kyuubi's chakra from Naruto 3 years ago. However, Danzo had been killed by him, and the clues were there. It's broken their point. As for the third generation, he has already retreated behind the scenes. After Tsunade took over as the 5th Hokage, Naraku rarely saw him. Because of their relationship, he never took the initiative to ask the third generation about this matter. "Who is it?" Naraku stared at Kyuubi's beast eyes as big as lanterns with a serious expression. "Uchiha Madara." Kyuubi slowly spoke out 4 words from his mouth. Uchiha Madara, a being known as Ninja Shura. In the long life of the Ninetales, Madara was the only being who could dominate him twice in a row. Even the fact that Konoha has the strongest tailed beast now is all thanks to Madara, who captured the Ninetales as a psychic beast to fight Hashirama. After Naraku heard the name, he was slightly stunned and looked at Kyuubi with some doubts. After a slight hesitation, he slowly said, "Uchiha Madara has passed away long ago. The masked man who released you a few years ago is now the one pretending to be Madara in the ninja world." Pretending. Naraku's words made Kyuubi stunned. "Somebody is coming." At this moment, Naraku frowned, then raised his head and said to Kyuubi, "Okay Kyuubi, today's conversation is here. As for Naruto's training, I believe you will actively cooperate. After all, Naruto is the reincarnation of the son of Sage of Six Paths." Naraku, who left these words, disappeared directly here, leaving only Kyuubi with a shocked look on his face. "How does he know my name? Is there any reincarnation of the son of the immortal of Six Paths? Is he a Shura?" Kyuubi closed his eyes and felt it carefully. After a long time, he opened his pupils, and his vertical pupils were full of shock. "In that case, I will help you, Uzumaki Naruto." Outside, Naraku had slowly opened his eyes at this time. Scarlet light flashed by, and then returned to normal. "Obito. Uchiha, how could he extract the chakra of the Ninetales? Isn't it going to be a long time before the Eye of the Moon plan is launched?" Naraku frowned slightly. The development of the matter was somewhat beyond his expectation. He had known about Obito and Danzo's collusion for a long time. The two of them had a close connection before Kushina gave birth. But he really couldn't figure out why Obito wanted Kyuubi's chakra. Things are getting more and more unexpected. "It seems that it is necessary to talk to our 2Z brother," Naraku murmured. "There is also Shizu Sharingan, which is also a big hidden danger." Naraku had gone to Shizu in private to personally confirm that the Sharingan that Fugaku had brought back was indeed not his. Although Danzo died, he did leave many unknown hidden dangers to Naraku. Bishanshin's bug level ability, if used properly, can change the situation of any battle. Well, at this moment, Naruto in Naraku's arms opened his eyes, and he said in a daze, "Did I fall asleep just now?" "Yes, you fell asleep. Did we, Naruto, practice too hard?" Naraku said with a smile. "By the way, practice." Naruto immediately became energetic after hearing these 2 words, and jumped out of Naraku's arms. "I want to master the shadow clone technique quickly and then beat Sasuke up." Naruto's words made Naraku dumbfounded. Sasuke and Naruto were really born enemies. Swish. Suddenly, a man wearing a white cat face mask and Anbu costume stood in front of Naraku. "Captain," a familiar voice came into Naraku's ears. The person who came was none other than Konoha's greening master Yamato, who was now the Enbu's Tenzo. "Are you on a mission?" Seeing Yamato, Naraku murmured, then stretched out his hand to rub Naruto's golden hair and then formed a seal with one hand. Shadow clone technique. Boom. A cloud of white mist appeared, and after a shadow clone emerged, Naraku said to Naruto, "Naruto, uncle has to go to work. The shadow clone will supervise your training, so you can't be lazy, okay?" Naruto replied loudly, "I will definitely have mastered the shadow clone technique by the time you come back, okay?" Naruto replied loudly, "Uncle, let's wait and see." Then, Naraku left here with Yamato and rushed towards the Hokage's office. 3 years have passed, and Naraku has now reached the position of captain in the Enbu. As the Enbu under the direct jurisdiction of the Hokage, there are also levels of hierarchy: ordinary team members, squad leaders, senior leaders, deputy ministers, and ministers. As the captain, Naraku manages 5 teams, and Yamato is the captain of one of them. Like Naraku, there is Shizu. After the Roots were disbanded, he was reassigned to the Anbu by Tsunade and entrusted with important tasks compared with the two of them. Kakashi's current official position is higher, and now he has sneaked into the position of Deputy Minister of Anbu. When the position of Anbu Minister is now vacant, Kakashi is the real boss of Anbu. Hokage's office. Wearing a dark green coat and smooth blonde hair, the whole person looks mature and charming. Especially the pair of huge objects on the chest are very eye-catching. It was none other than the 5th Hokage. At this time, Tsunade put her hands on the desk, frowning as if she had encountered some trouble. There was also a scroll on the desk with some things recorded on it. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the sound of knocking on the door sounded in her ears. "Please come in." With a creak, the wooden door was pushed open, and Naraku and Yamato walked in together. "Hokage-sama," they both shouted respectfully at the same time. Naraku still respected Tsunade very much. In order to ensure Kushina's safety, she stayed in the village for 2 years. He always remembered this kindness. Coupled with the inexplicable relationship between Tsunade and Jiraiya, Naraku felt that the word master and mother would one day be called out. Kirigakure and Kumogakure are very uneasy recently. "I want you to go check it out," Tsunade said in a deep voice. As she said this, she handed the scroll on the table to Naraku. Kirigakure's abuser attacked Mizukage. Naraku was slightly stunned when he looked at the content on the scroll. "This is the news passed back by the spies lurking in Kirigakure village. I hope you will inquire about the specific situation, but try not to reveal your identity." "Yes, Hokage-sama. What about the Cloud Hidden village?" Naraku asked. He planned to visit both villages. After all, he was still very curious about some things in the current Cloud Hidden village. "Leave it to me in U9 village." At this moment, a voice came from the darkness, and then a familiar face appeared in front of Naraku. Chapter 81 Departure to the Kingdom of Water. The person who came had hair like barbs. Even though he was wearing a mask, Naraku still recognized his identity. It was Uchiha Shizu. There was no surprise for his arrival. Since Tsunade took office, with the joint efforts of her and Fugaku, the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the village has eased a lot. It's just that there are some old guys who are more stubborn. As the captain, Shizu will serve as a guard for Tsunade, the Hokage, for a few days every month, as long as he is not performing some special long-term missions. Of course, the same goes for Naraku. Not long after Shizu came here, Uchiha Itachi also came here. This time Shizu would take him with him to perform a mission in U9 village. Although Naraku felt a little pity about this, since Tsunade had already chosen someone, he could only give up the idea of going to Kumo Hidden village. "You might as well go to Kirigakure village and take this opportunity to find out about Obito," Naraku murmured. Then several people left the Hokage's office. "Hokage-sama, 2 advisors said they would come over to discuss something with you," Shizune said to Tsunade after everyone left. "2 old guys are really annoying." Tsunade looked helpless. Although the 3rd generation passed on the position of Hokage to her, some powers were still controlled by him, such as several advisors and elders, who felt a great constraint on Tsunade. "Kakashi, Naraku, I hope you will grow up as soon as possible. Being Hokage is really tiring," Tsunade murmured. If she hadn't been worried about the future development of Konoha, Tsunade would never have agreed to become Hokage. But after all, the village was founded by her grandfather Senju Hashirama, and she had an inseparable affection for Konoha. The third generation also took advantage of this to convince Tsunade to agree to succeed the fifth generation Hokage outside Konoha village. Shisu looked at Naraku, who was holding his shoulders with a look of confusion. Naraku seemed not to notice this, and raised his hand to pat him on the shoulder. "I'll leave this matter to you. I believe you can handle it." Naraku then handed a scroll to Shisu, then stood up, and left here with Yamato. Shunshin. "Shisu, if it were you, you should be able to master this ninjutsu." Naraku murmured, "Forgive me, brother Minato. I'm also preparing to resurrect you. Who makes your apprentice fail to live up to expectations?" It turned out to be the fourth generation. Shisu, who stayed where he was, opened the scroll and was shocked by the content inside. The Flying Thunder God technique. Shisu looked at Naraku's back with a complex expression. "Let's work together, Naraku." Swish. At this moment, as a sound broke through the air, a man who seemed to be about 150 meters tall stood in front of Shisu. The person who came was Itachi, who was the same age as Naraku. Over the past few years, Itachi and Naraku had grown a lot taller. "Let's go, Itachi." Shisu's voice sounded. "It is good." Itachi nodded lightly and then set off in another direction with Shisu. In a dense jungle, two figures were traveling quickly. "Captain, this time we are going to enter the Kirigakure village in the Kingdom of Water. I heard that the ninjas there are very strong and very cruel." Yamato's voice rang in Naraku's ears. "Yeah." Naraku nodded slightly. "This mission is mainly to go deep into Kirigakure village to gather intelligence, so we must hide our identities and never do anything unless necessary." Naraku warned carefully. "When we reach the border of the Fire Country, we will change our clothes." "Copy that," Yamato called out. "It is good." Naraku nodded, and then the two of them started on their way. In Kirigakure village, the fourth Mizukachu can completely transform into a tailed beast, plus Obito. "We can't compete head on with them yet," Naraku thought to himself. However, even if he did have a conflict with these two people, Naraku wouldn't mind practicing with them. Although Obito's Kamu is very difficult to deal with, he can still be invincible with his Shankan. However, there is one thing that Naraku should pay attention to, that is, all Mangekyou Sharingan inevitably loses sight. In the past 3 years, although Naraku has controlled the number of times he uses the Mangekyou Sharingan, he still feels that his eyesight has declined. As for how to solve this problem, Naraku already had the answer in his mind. After solving the incident in Hidden Mist Village, he planned to find that person to test it out. The two moved extremely fast and arrived at the border of the Fire Country before dark. "Xianzang, I leave it to you." Naraku turned his head and looked aside, who immediately understood. "Yes." Yamato quickly formed seals with his hands at any time, and blue chakra emerged. Mutant. Four Pillars family. Rumble. After the ground shook for a while, two houses made entirely of wood appeared in front of them. "It's really convenient." Naraku sighed. Carrying Yamato is like carrying a movable house. This is why Naraku has been teaming up with Yamato. Otherwise, with the two of them as a team leader and a team leader, they would not have to perform missions together long ago. The two people quickly changed their clothes in the wooden house and set off again. The Kingdom of Water is remote and surrounded by water. Most of the land there are islands. Among them, Kirigakure village is built on a large island and is located in the center of the Kingdom of Water. If we look at the scale, the Kingdom of Water is not inferior to the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Wind, but it is more similar to the Kingdom of Wind. Most of the Kingdom of Wind is full of yellow sand, most of which are desert-like places. The Land of Water is mostly ocean. Despite its remote location, there is no doubt about the strength of Kirigakure village in the Land of Water. In addition to the 7 ninja swordsmen, Kirigakure village also has the Kaguya clan and the Minazuki clan, such powerful blood-stained clans. It's just that the current Kirigakure village's strength has declined a lot under Obito's secret manipulation. Naraku also had some speculations about why Obito chose Kirigakure village. On the one hand, it was because Kirigakure village was relatively hidden, and other countries knew very little about the information here. Another thing is probably because of Lin. In Obito's view, Lin's death was caused by Kaguya, so he controlled the 4th Mizukage to take revenge on Kaguya. The blood-stained families that were exterminated one after another in Kaguya village were all the work of Obito. At this stage, Kaguya is full of blood and killing, and even the current Kaguya village is called Blood Mist. Naraku knew that this situation in Kaguya village would continue for a long time, and the situation would not change until the 5th Mizukage Terumi Medi took office. But that will be several years later. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82. The Kaguya clan is ready to cause trouble. 2 days later, Naraku and Yamato appeared at a dock where they could take a boat to the Kingdom of Water. In order to keep a low profile and save energy, Naraku and the others chose to take a boat to the Kingdom of Water. Although they can walk on the sea, it consumes a lot of their physical strength and can easily alert others. It will be very troublesome if they are discovered by ninjas from the Kingdom of Water. Kyozeng, dressed as ordinary people, and the two people quickly found a big ship that was about to go to the Kingdom of Water. After buying the tickets, they boarded the ship. 3 days later, the ship docked at a place called Blue Water City. After arriving at their destination, Naraku and the others disembarked along with everyone on the boat. Blue Water City is a well-known city in the Kingdom of Water. It is rich in seafood and has relatively developed material and financial resources. The two people who got off the boat found a hotel nearby. After checking in, they separated and went to find out the news. Wearing a black trench coat, Naraku strolled down the street. Anyway, the mission this time was still to find out information, and the time was not that tight, so Naraku simply wandered around here. Around evening, Naraku found a tavern and walked in. After an afternoon of wandering around, Naraku also discovered something. In this city, there are not many ninjas, which shows that Kaguya village does not have strong supervision over the city. This also makes Naraku breathe a sigh of relief. He does not want to just die. Was discovered when I came here. Naraku guessed that this might be because the 4th Mizukage was assassinated, so Yagura transferred all the people back, or it might be because of other things. After entering the tavern, Naraku found a table and sat down. After ordering a small bottle of wine, he drank alone there. Originally, Naraku didn't drink much, not to mention that he was still young, but because of Jiraiya, he would occasionally drink. He seems to be drinking now, but in fact his perception has covered the entire tavern, and the words and deeds of everyone inside are within the scope of his perception. After an hour, it seems that we can't get any useful information here, Naraku murmured. Then he got up and left, walking towards the outside of the tavern, but just as he walked outside the tavern, his attention was attracted by the conversation between the two. Arun, tell me what's going on in Kaguya village recently. Even if you don't accept the entrusted mission, even the ninjas who are performing the mission have been recalled. You don't know this, Artao. I heard that the 4th Mizukage was assassinated some time ago. I should ask someone to protect him now. Assassination and protection don't require so many people, right? There are people from the Kaguya clan and the Minazuki clan in Kaguya. Aren't they powerful blood families? Let them protect Mizukage-sama. Isn't that good? Ateo. Are you stupid? You asked people from the Blood Step family to protect the 4th Mizukage. Have you forgotten how he treated those Blood Step families after he took office? Those families now want the 4th Mizukage to die quickly and protect him. Eren said with a sneer, showing no respect for the 4th Mizukage in his words. Yes, the 4th Mizukage doesn't know what he is thinking. He has been attacking the blood successor families since he took office. Now the conflict between the two parties has reached an irreconcilable point. Someone on the side echoed, it seems that Zabuza really assassinated the Mizukage. Naraku murmured at the door of the tavern. There are also those blood successor families. Judging from this situation, Kaguya village will start a new round of purges, with These things in mind, Naraku set off and returned to the hotel, where Yamato was already waiting for him. The two briefly exchanged information and found that the information they received was similar at this time. Naraku already had a guess in his mind, but in order to confirm the accuracy of the news, he needed to sneak into Kirigakure village to confirm it. Next, he and Yamato split up. He was responsible for sneaking into Kirigakure village to confirm the accuracy of the news, while Yamato continued to stay in Blue Sea City to inquire about the news. If nothing unexpected happened, the two of them would return here to gather in 3 days. Late at night, a figure appeared on the edge of Kirigakure village. It was Naraku. At this time, he was wearing a black cloak and used a hat to cover his striking red hair. Red hair is rare in the ninja world. When people think of red hair, they always think of the Uzumaki clan, so in order to hide his identity, Naraku had to do the same. Perhaps Kirigakure was busy with internal fighting, and their guards were not strong at this time, so Naraku sneaked in with little effort. As soon as he entered Kirigakure village, Naraku felt a heavy atmosphere. Even though it was late at night, ninjas could be seen walking back and forth everywhere. Naraku didn't dare to stay longer. After wandering in one area for a while, he rushed towards another. On the way, he was thinking carefully about the current situation in Kirigakure village. Among the blood successor families in Kirigakure village, the Minazuki and Kaguya clans are the most famous. However, when Naraku was in Blue Sea City, he heard that the Minazuki clan has almost been exterminated. This was all caused by the 4th Mizukage, or Obito. The Minazuki clan has been exterminated, and Zabuza failed to assassinate the Mizukage on the way to escape. If something big happens in Kirigakure village now, it must be the Kaguya clan who is planning something. In a remote house. What's going on with Captain and the others? Why have they asked us to go out to gather at midnight every day for the past 2 days? A man wearing a ninja vest cursed and walked out of the house, preparing to gather at the agreed upon location. But the moment he turned his head, he only saw a red light flashing in the night sky. The next moment, he lost consciousness and his body began to shake. But just when he was about to fall to the ground, a black shadow flashed past. Then everything disappeared. In a hidden corner, Naraku, who was wearing a cloak, looked around vigilantly, and after confirming that no one was around, he put down the man on his back. He was the one who used illusion magic to stun this man just now, and brought him here again. Sure enough, the Kaguya clan is causing trouble, Naraku thought to himself. He had just used Jinjutsu to get some information from this person. The captain he mentioned was named Kaguya Yamazaki, and he was from the Kaguya clan, although the specific information was not clear to him. But Naraku guessed that the reason why Kaguya-chan's Han called them to gather in the middle of the night was to prepare for a coup. After leaving a small illusion on this person, Naraku left here. Soon a slightly prosperous house appeared in front of him. It was Kaguya Nakata's home in that person's memory, and it was also the place where they gathered. At this time, their team members didn't seem to have gathered yet, and Naraku only felt the aura of one person in this house. Chapter 83, Uncle Master, you are really good at raising children. Kirigakure village. After feeling the presence of only one person in the house, Naraku sneaked in quietly. Kaguya is just an ordinary jounin, and Naraku is not afraid of it at all. Although he is also a member of the Kaguya clan, the corpse veins are not activated in Kaguya mountain, so he is not very strong. Naraku closed his eyes, and Kaguya's inner eye opened. He clearly perceived the specific location of the person in the house, and then he no longer hesitated. When he reappeared in a flash, he was already at the person's side. Who? Kaguya. Yamazaki let out a low shout. After all, he was a jounin. His reaction speed was much better than that of the previous one. When he sensed the movement, he did not hesitate, and started to form seals with his hands. But this was of no use to Naraku. Scarlet eyes appeared, and the next moment the blood-red pattern of a 6-pointed star appeared in his eyes. With the blessing of the Manjaki Sharingan, the power of illusions used by Naraku would be greatly enhanced. It's not difficult even for a jounin to be hit instantly. In reality, the moment Naraku main Jekai Sharingan appeared, Kaguya lost consciousness and his body swayed, like he fell to the ground. Just like before, Naraku once again got more information from him. After dealing with Kaguya Nakayama, Naraku left here. The fact is, as Naraku expected, the Kaguya clan has begun to completely break up with the 4th Mizukage. The Kaguya clan has gathered people and decided to have a coup tomorrow. Killing the 4th Mizukage and replacing him was the idea of everyone in the Kaguya clan. But Naraku knew that this was just a delusion of the Kaguya clan. If there was really only the 4th Mizukage, they might still succeed, but now they couldn't succeed. A Bitto alone is enough to sweep through their clan. Suddenly, Naraku seemed to feel something, and his face changed slightly. Is this the breath? Naraku felt a cold aura, like a snake hiding in the dark. Naraku closed his eyes, and Kaguya's inner eye exploded with all its strength. With him as his surroundings, he could feel all the energy fluctuations within a kilometer range. It's really you, Orochimaru. Naraku opened his eyes and murmured. It was discovered. At this moment, a gaze exuding a cold aura not far away looked towards this side. Naraku looked at him without any fear, his sharp and cold eyes meeting in the air. It's actually you, nephew. I didn't expect to meet you, uncle. Here. It seems we are really destined. Then, the two of them rushed towards the outside of Kirigakure village in a tacit understanding, and stopped in a dense jungle. My nephew, I heard that even Danzo died in your hands. You really gave me a big surprise. Orochimaru looked at Naraku opposite with a smile, and an imperceptible shock flashed in his eyes. Although Orochimaru does not have as powerful a sensory ninjutsu as Naraku, every powerful cage level warrior has his own special abilities, and Orochimaru is one of them. At this time, he had an intuition. He felt that he might no longer be a match for the 10-year-old child in front of him. This made Orochimaru doubt for the first time whether his intuition was accurate, even though he had never missed it before. Looking at Orochimaru in front of him, although his strength has increased a lot, Naraku is not arrogant enough not to take Orochimaru seriously. If you want to say who among the Hokages has the most life-saving means, it must be Orochimaru. This was an existence that Itachi couldn't seal even with a divine weapon. Naraku feels that if Otsutsuki will invade the ninja world in the future, and only one person can survive in the ninja world, that person must be Orochimaru in front of him. And Naraku didn't have much hatred in his heart for Orochimaru. Although fights broke out the first 2 times they met him, Naraku knew that Orochimaru was not serious at that time, otherwise he might not be alive now. Uncle Master is joking. Elder Danzo is just missing. How could I be the one who killed him? Naraku said with a smile. 3 years ago, in order to cover up Naraku's killing of Danzo, Hatsune did not announce his death, only saying that he was missing. Of course, this is only for the outside world. Many people in the top management of Konoha village know the truth of this matter, but due to some pressure, they also choose to remain silent. Haha, Orochimaru sneered, and the smile on his lips made him look a little scary. By the way, I remembered that I had something else to do, so I left first. Naraku said as he walked towards the side point. Perhaps because there were other things to do, Orochimaru did not stop Naraku and just let him leave. Having the blood of both Uzumaki and Uchiha clans, I really look forward to how far you can grow, Uzumaki Naraku. And the man who calls himself God, his eyes are the same as those of Jiraiya's disciple, Orochimaru murmured in his mouth. A few years ago, he joined an organization called Akatsuki, where he met the man who claimed to be God, Pain. When he first saw Pain, he was attracted by those eyes. The Rinnegan eye. Those are the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. The Uzumaki clan is really amazing. Can they even control eyes like that? Orochimaru thought secretly in his heart. Then he turned and walked in the other direction. Kaguya, Uzumaki, and Senju. Legend has it that these clans are all descendants of the Sage of Six Paths. I wonder if there is any connection between them. With these thoughts in his mind, Orochimaru walked towards a hidden cave. The cave seemed to have been made into a prison, with 2 rows of iron cages inside. But what was strange was that there was not even a guard here. Orochimaru stepped into the cave and walked straight towards the deepest part, where there was a young man who looked a little weak. Kaguya Kimimaro is the one who can bring down the fourth Kazekage in the future. After seeing him, a glimmer of light flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and then he walked to the iron cage and smashed the iron door into pieces with one palm. Kimimaro, who heard the commotion, raised his head and looked at him, his eyes full of confusion. Young man, are you willing to come with me? Come here for Kaguya Kimimaro. Naraku on the other side had already guessed the purpose of Orochimaru's trip. In fact, when he learned that the Kaguya clan was preparing to launch a coup, he had thought that Orochimaru would come here. After all, he remembered that Orochimaru picked up Kimimaro at about this time in the original work point. Although Orochimaru has many shortcomings, one thing I have to admit is his charisma. Apart from Kimimaro and Kabuto, there are many people who are loyal to Orochimaru. Although Orochimaru did many excessive things to them, it still did not affect their attitude towards Orochimaru, Kimimaro, Xiangling, Jugo. At this moment, Naraku suddenly thought that Orochimaru seemed to have many children under his control at this stage. Uncle, you are really good at raising children. Chapter 84 A chance encounter with Zabuza, the ineffective silent killing technique. Orochimaru, the fourth Mizukage, the crazy Obito, and Zabuza who had already escaped. The Kirigakure village is now in a state of crisis. Naraku thought about it carefully and decided to go to Kirigakure village to lurk and wait until tomorrow when the Kaguya clan fights with the fourth Mizukage and the others to see if he can get some useful information from it. Then he found a hidden location near Kirigakure village and lurked, quietly waiting for a big battle to come. Everything went peacefully throughout the day until night fell, when a chilling air came from Kirigakure village. Naraku restrained his aura and quietly approached Kirigakure village. Relying on his powerful perception ability, he could feel that a large number of ninjas gathered together in Kirigakure village at this time, and these people were vaguely divided into two organizations. Without even thinking about it, Naraku knew that the two groups here were the Kaguya clan and the fourth Mizukage clan. Suddenly, just as Naraku was about to enter Kirigakure village, a figure attracted his attention. It was a man with half a white bandage on his face and a 2-meter long knife on his back. It's actually him, Kijin Zabuza. Naraku's pupils shrank, feeling a little surprised. Logically speaking, since Zabuza failed to assassinate the Mizukage, hadn't he already defected from the village? Naraku frowned slightly and hid quietly in order not to alert others. At this moment, a breeze blew by and a thick fog appeared, blocking Naraku's sight. This is Kirigakure's art? It seems that it has been discovered. Naraku murmured. Then he turned around very quickly, took out a kunai in his right hand, and held it in front of his chest. Clang. There was a clear sound of metal collision. Oh, it was actually blocked. Zabuza's slightly hoarse voice sounded, with a hint of surprise in his tone. The Kirigakure technique, combined with his silent killing technique, even the fourth Mizukage almost got hit by, but the man in front of him was able to block his attack without any precautions. At this moment, Zabuza felt alert. Stand up. Where did the little brat come from to ambush me here? Zabuza said loudly on the surface, his tone full of disdain. Naraku smiled coldly at this, and did not speak. Now he can clearly sense Zabuza's position even without opening Kagura's inner eye. The so-called silent killing technique has no effect on him at all. Seeing that Naraku didn't reply, Zabuza, who was cautious, did not attack again, just when he was about to put away his sword and retreat. Zabuza-sama, is it you? Our clan leader has been waiting for you. A strange voice came over. Zabuza's face changed instantly when he heard this, and he looked at Naraku opposite with murderous eyes. He had been preparing to withdraw now, and had to take action against Naraku. Because the words of the man just now not only exposed his identity, but also revealed some things he planned with the Kaguya clan. These things must never be exposed. For a moment, Zabuza felt murderous intentions in his heart. It seems that Zabuza has united with the Kaguya clan. Naraku thought to himself. He didn't have the slightest fear towards the surging murderous intent in Zabuza. Although Kijin Zabuza has a great name, he is now at best a jonin with outstanding strength. Even at the beginning of the plot in the original work, his strength did not improve much. Swish. In the dark night, under the thick fog, Zabuza's figure once again transformed into a black shadow and attacked Naraku. These thick fogs are transformed by Zabuza's chakra, so anyone who is in the thick fog will be aware of their specific location, while others will have their sight blocked by the thick fog. This move seems very powerful, but if you face some ninjas who are good at high power like Byakugan and Sharingan, or those with strong perception, this move will lose its effect. Unfortunately, Naraku possesses both of these qualities at the same time. On the field, the thick fog that could block his sight was useless in his eyes, and Naraku easily dodged every attack of Zabuza. Thunder escape, thunder arrow. Suddenly Naraku stretched out his hand, and the blue-ox between his fingers exuded a dazzling light under the night sky. The next moment, these arcs burst out instantly, turning into small thunder arrows in the air, and rushing forward at high speed. Call out, call out, call out. Dozens of thunder arrows tore through the air, like streaks of lightning gliding through the air, targeting Zabuza in front of him. At this time, Zabuza's pupils shrank. Although it was the first time he saw such a thunder escape ninjutsu, he reacted immediately. The decapitating sword was swung in his hand at high speed, turning into a shield to block his attack. Body shape. Snapped, snapped, snapped. Blue thunder arrows landed on it and made explosive sounds. The sound of the two people fighting alerted the man who had just spoken. He who had been unable to find Zabuza immediately confirmed his position and stood next to Zabuza in a flash. This is a middle-aged man with grey hair and a hideous scar on his face. His name is Kaguya Shianden, and his strength ranks among the top among the Kaguya clan. Zabuza-sama, are you okay? Kaguya Shianden said. Humph. Zabuza snorted coldly. His attitude seemed very cold compared to Kaguya Shianden's respectful attitude towards him. In fact, Zabuza knew very well that the Kaguya clan was not a good thing. The reason why they respected him so much now was simply because they wanted him to help them destroy the 4th Mizukage. Zabuza-sama, who is this person? Facing Zabuza's cold attitude, a sharp light flashed in Kaguya Shianden's eyes, but it was quickly suppressed by him. Just as Zabuza guessed, the reason why he is so respectful to him now is just to take advantage of Zabuza. In response to his inquiry, Zabuza did not reply, but slowly turned his head and looked at Naraku with murderous intent in his eyes. They are enemies. In that case, Kaguya Shianden's eyes were filled with murderous intent. It's really troublesome, Naraku murmured. Even though he had no intention of doing anything, he was stared at by these two people at the same time. Do they think he is really easy to bully? Corpse bone veins, 10 fingers piercing bullets. At this moment, Kaguya Shianden shouted low, raised his hands flat, and pointed his fingers towards Naraku. Boom, boom, boom. The next moment, 10 finger bones were shot out like bullets. Thunder arrow. Naraku raised his right hand, and dozens of blue thunder arrows condensed in the air in an instant, and then rushed forward at high speed, colliding with those finger bones. Thunder arrow is Naraku's own thunder escape ninjutsu. Although it is not very powerful, one thing is that it does not require any seals. He only needs to release the thunder attribute chakra. Chapter 85 Encounter, Uchiha Obito. Boom, boom, boom. The thunder arrows released by Naraku intercepted all the finger bones, and they made violent sounds when the two collided. As the air shook, a figure holding a broadsword was approaching Naraku at high speed. Clang. The kunai and the decapitating sword collided again, and Naraku felt a huge force coming up from the kunai. ZHI. ZHI. Suddenly a blue arc of electricity flashed across Naraku's body, and the next moment he disappeared in front of Zabuza in a flash. How is it possible? His speed is so. Zabuza secretly thought in his heart, and a strong uneasiness rose in his heart. What? At this moment, a cry of pain suddenly came. Zabuza, who heard the sound, turned around and saw that Kaguya Shianden had fallen to the ground and was twitching constantly, full of blue ox point buff. The next moment, Naraku opened his neck with a kunai, and red blood spurted out. How is this possible? Zabuza exclaimed in his heart. Although Kaguya tendon is not as strong as him, he is still a jounin who has awakened the corpse veins. Zabuza understands that for every person who awakens the corpse veins, the bones in his body are as strong as steel, and the bones in his body are as strong as steel. Every vital organ is protected by bones. Even his decapitating sword may not be able to break through their defenses. ZHI. ZHI. Suddenly, Zabuza noticed the flashing blue arc on Kaguya tendon's body. Could it be that it took advantage of the penetrability of thunder and lightning? He thought in his heart. Zabuza guessed correctly. Naraku had attached lightning to the Kunai just now, which greatly enhanced the penetrability of the Kunai point. Only in this way can Kaguya Shinden be eliminated in an instant. Next, it's your turn. Naraku turned to look at Zabuza, with a hint of murderous intent in his sharp eyes. Originally, he had no hostility towards Zabuza, but now that a fight has broken out between the two sides, Naraku doesn't mind solving it directly. Water escape, water prison technique. At this moment, Zabuza quickly formed seals with his hands and let out a low drink. A group of blue water suddenly appeared, and the water surged quickly and enveloped Naraku's figure. The next moment, Zabuza turned around without hesitation and rushed in the same direction. When Naraku instantly killed Kaguya tendon, he realized the gap in strength between the two. Now he just wanted to hurry up, escape for your life without any desire to fight. Boom. At this moment, the water prison surrounding Naraku exploded instantly, and light blue chakra slowly flowed through his body. Kijin Zabuza is really disappointing. Looking at Zabuza's frantically running away, looking very embarrassed, a trace of disappointment flashed in Naraku's eyes. Just when he was about to step forward and finish off the opponent completely, his pupils shrank instantly. The air not far in front of Zabuza fluctuated like a tide, and the next moment a man wearing an orange tiger striped mask and a black robe suddenly appeared. Facing the man who suddenly appeared and stood in front of him, Zabuza did not hesitate at all. With both hands exerting force, he swung out the decapitating sword fiercely. The broad blade struck straight at the masked man like a whirlwind, but a shocking scene occurred at the next moment. The decapitating sword actually penetrated directly through the masked man's body. It was as if the masked man was just an apparition. Zabuza was stunned for the first time when he saw this situation. Just when he was about to attack again, a scarlet eye appeared in his sight. Puff. The next moment, a bright red blood splashed out, and the red blood slowly flowed out from Zabuza's neck. Well, Zabuza, who could only let out a cry of pain, fell to the ground, and within a moment he completely lost his breath. The beheading sword, demon Zabuza. What a coincidence. A hoarse and heavy voice came from the masked mouth. The next one is the Kaguya clan, he thought viciously in his heart. Uchiha. Obito. Naraku, who was not far away, murmured in his heart, and the uncontrollable murderous intent emanated from his eyes. Naraku was full of hatred for Obito. If it hadn't been for him, Minato wouldn't have died, and Kushina wouldn't he have been unconscious for so long. At this time, Obito seemed to have noticed Naraku. He raised his head and stared at Naraku with his scarlet eyes. Noisy. Suddenly his pupils shrank, and in his sight a blue thunder shadow was approaching him quickly. Just when Obito made a move, the thunder shadow was already standing opposite him. The person who came was none other than Naraku. At this time, his whole body was covered with blue thunder and lightning, and crackling sounds could be heard. The dark eyes looked up at the scarlet eye, and a strong killing intent burst out instantly. Boom. The lightning surrounding Naraku instantly left his body, and launched an offensive towards Obito in front of him. Humph, I don't know what it means. Obito snorted coldly and allowed the lightning to strike without making any move to dodge. The next moment, the unexpected lightning penetrated his body without leaving any scars. Then Obito flashed and quickly distanced himself from Naraku. At the same time, he quickly formed seals with his hands. Would release. Cutting technique. There was a low cry, and then a sharp wooden thorn cut through the air and struck at Naraku at high speed. Naraku was not afraid of this at all. The thunder attribute chakra on his body exploded instantly. His speed increased sharply, and he avoided the attack of the wooden thorn with a turn. At the same time, he quickly formed seals with his hands. Fire escape, fire dragon flame bullet. Naraku opened his mouth and spit out a ball of crimson flames. The crimson magma-like flames quickly condensed, and then turned into a hot dragon-shaped flame bomb. Boom. The crimson flaming bullets exuded intense heat, and the night sky was instantly illuminated by the flames. The next moment, the flaming bullets surged forward at extremely high speeds. This is Konoha's ninjutsu. Obito murmured. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes and allowed the flame bullets to flood his body. Boom. The flames hit the ground heavily, and a huge deep pit instantly appeared, and the inside was scorched black. Konoha's hand is really long. Even Kirigakure can see you people from Konoha village. At this moment, Obito's hoarse voice came again. The next moment his figure appeared in front of Naraku, his body intact. Kamu, it's really a very tricky ability. Ignoring Obito's words, Naraku frowned slightly at this time. What he has to admit is that he is still unable to break Obito's ability to weaken his power. Even if he knew that its virtual weakness could only last for 5 minutes, he could not cause any fatal damage to Obito. You must know that Minato could only be invincible with the Flying Thunder God, but he was also unable to truly take down Obito. Chapter 86 The Ancestral Hall of the Kaguya Clan, or Orochimaru's Transaction. On the field, Naraku and Obito looked at each other from a distance, and a strong chilling air filled the air. What's going on over there? Who's fighting there? Could it be that Kaguya Tendon and the others have already made war with Yagura's people? At this moment, several voices came from not far away, and several people were attracted by the sound of the two fighting. Obito's expression changed slightly when he heard the voice, and then after taking a look at Naraku, he used his divine power to leave. Seeing Obito's figure completely disappearing into the space vortex, Naraku no longer hesitated, picked up the decapitating sword from the ground, dodged and disappeared. As for Zabuza's body, it had been affected by the flames just now, and was completely submerged in the sea of fire. Not long after they left, several figures appeared here. They were all members of the Kaguya clan. After checking the area again, they found Zabuza's body, but at this time the body had become completely charred and black, and they were unable to determine the identity of the body in a short period of time. Kirigakure village, Mizuki's building. Yagura stood in front of the window with calm eyes, and behind him several figures were half kneeling. They were all Yagura's confidants. After a long time, after noticing a fluctuation in the space outside the window in front of him, Yagura turned to everyone and said, "Let's go and completely clean up the Kaguya clan." Yes. Everyone nodded, and then walked towards the other side of the village under the leadership of Yagura. Lin, whoever killed you will be punished. Today is their turn. Obito, who was hiding in the dark, quietly followed the team. At the same time, in the territory of the Kaguya clan, you still haven't found Kimimaro? Kaguya Magu, the leader of the Kaguya clan, said with an ugly expression. Not yet. The man in front of Magu lowered his head and said respectfully, with a hint of regret in his tone. Kimimaro is an alien to the Kaguya clan. They have never had feelings for him, and only use him as a war weapon. The reason why he felt regretful was because the weapon he had taken advantage of was gone. What was different from his idea was that the patriarch Magu felt something was wrong. He asked in a deep voice, "Isn't Kaguya shined and back yet?" "No, clan leader." Yagura led a group of people towards our clan, Kaguya. Magu hesitated for a long time, then looked around with his eyes. "Let's go. Today our Kaguya clan will clean up the cancer in Kirigakure village, and kill Yagura, this treacherous wolf-hearted guy." He also set off with a group of people. Not long after they left, a figure wearing a black robe appeared here. It was Naraku. The Kaguya clan actually takes the name of Six Paths Sage's mother as their surname. "Let me see what secrets you have." Under the call of Kaguya Magu, all the ninjas in their clan participated in this coup, so now there are only some servants and children in their clan. So Naraku had unimpeded access here, and he sneaked in without much effort. Then Naraku walked to their clan's ancestral hall. Kagura's heart eye opened, and the scarlet Sharingan also appeared. Then Naraku began to search carefully in the ancestral hall. There are rumors that the Kaguya clan, the Senju clan, and the Uzumaki clan are all descendants of the Sage of Six Paths. Naraku knew that the Uzumaki clan and the Senju clan were descendants of the Six Paths Sage, but he couldn't confirm whether the Kaguya clan was. Although the Kaguya clan is similar to the Senju and Uzumaki clans, in that they are both clans with special physiques, they are similar but not similar. Naraku always feels that there is something in it that they understand. That's why he came here now, wanting to completely understand the secrets of the Kaguya clan. With the Sharingan and Kaguya's heart eye opened at the same time, Naraku quickly discovered something unusual in the ancestral hall. Then he walked to a bone sword placed on the table, stretched out his right hand, and Naraku directly picked up the bone sword. Rumble. The next moment, the ground suddenly shook, and then a row of stairs leading underground appeared in front of Naraku. There really is a secret. Looking at the stairs, Naraku walked straight down without hesitation. Fire attribute chakra surged in his hand, and then a crimson flame appeared in Naraku's hand. With the help of this weak firelight, Naraku slowly walked down. After a long time, a huge iron gate appeared in front of Naraku. There are 4 figures painted on the iron gate. They sit in groups of 2 and stare at each other. Is this true? Looking at these 4 figures, Naraku had some guesses in his mind. At this moment, Naraku suddenly felt a cold breath coming from behind him, and he turned his head sharply to look. With narrow eyes and pale golden pupils, the person coming was none other than his uncle, who was very good at raising children, Orochimaru. He actually found this place. Naraku frowned slightly, feeling a little surprised by Orochimaru's arrival. Haha, it seems that my nephew has discovered something good, Orochimaru said with a smile. Haha, my uncle is joking. It's just an iron door. What a good thing it is. Naraku laughed and said nonchalantly. Is it? A trace of suspicion flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. Yesterday, he found Kimimaro. He was very satisfied with his talent and strength, and he was qualified to be his vessel. But there is one thing that makes him a little worried, and that is blood disease. He discovered this when he examined Kimimaro yesterday, so he appeared here today. He wanted to find a solution to Kimimaro's blood disease, and there was some information he needed to verify. If my uncle doesn't believe it, then you can stay here alone and take a closer look. My nephew will leave first, Naraku said as he turned around and left. How about we make a deal? At this moment, Orochimaru spoke again. You should also feel that, although the main Gekkai Sharingan is powerful, it will cause blindness if used too much, Orochimaru said with a smile, with a cold smile on his lips. After speaking, he stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Doesn't my nephew want to solve this problem? Orochimaru's words made Naraku stop retreating. He looked at the other person with a hint of suspicion. As for why Orochimaru knew this, he had no way of knowing. Uncle, is there any good way to do this? Naraku said slowly. Orochimaru smiled slightly at this, raised his hand, and threw a bottle towards him, with a scarlet eye inside. Sharingan. Naraku looked at the 3 Megatoma's Sharingan and frowned slightly, but the next moment his eyes were full of shock. Chapter 87. The Firstborn Man with Horns. The emblem of the Hyuga clan. Kirigakure village, on a dark and windy night, killing without blood. That night, the Kaguya clan and the 4th Mizukage's party in Kirigakure village started a final showdown. The strength gap between the two is not that big. The leader of the Kaguya clan, Kaguya Magu, is equally powerful. Relying on their clan's special corpse veins, he is no less powerful even against ordinary shadow level powerhouses of. But obviously, he miscalculated. What he faced today was not an ordinary shadow level powerhouse, but 2 shadow level powerhouses with extraordinary strength at the same time. The perfect Jinchuriki, the 4th Mizukage, the master of time and space ninjutsu, the powerful Uchiha Obito. Facing these 2 people at the same time, Kaguya Magu was at a disadvantage in an instant. If Obito hadn't attacked with all his strength, he might have died long ago. Now it was the 4th Mizukage who had taken action to entangle him, while Obito was walking through the crowd, harvesting the lives of the Kaguya clan like a god of death. A one-sided situation quickly emerged on the field. Kaguya Magu was heartbroken when he saw this scene. At this time, his heart was full of regret. It was he who led the Kaguya clan to destruction, under the ancestral hall of the Kaguya clan. Naraku looked at the scarlet Sharingan in the bottle. The shock in his eyes could not go away for a long time. In Naraku's sight, the 3 black Megatoma in the scarlet eye in the bottle had disappeared, replaced by a black 4-cornered windmill pattern. Manjaki Sharingan. Orochimaru actually has a Manjaki Sharingan. After a long time, Naraku calmed down and returned the bottle. Uncle. Master, how much do you know about this door? Naraku said, pointing to the iron door. Haha, these 2 people should be the ancestors of the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan, Orochimaru said, pointing to 2 of the 4 people on the door. Naraku turned to look, then nodded. The patterns printed on the clothes of the two people were very similar to the emblems of the two tribes. As for these two people, they should be the Kaguya clan and another clan. The patterns of the remaining two people were damaged, and it was impossible to see their specific appearance, but they could only be roughly seen as two figures. Orochimaru said so much, which made Naraku a little confused. Since he already knew so much, why did he leave him here? Orochimaru seemed to have noticed his doubts and said again, someone has placed a strong seal on this door. Even I can't easily unlock it, but as someone who is good at sealing, it might be very simple for the Uzumaki clan. Orochimaru smiled and spoke. It seems that Uncle Master really knows a lot about this place. Naraku looked at him with suspicion. He suspected that Orochimaru had been here a long time ago. There was indeed a sealing technique placed on this door, but this sealing technique was extremely hidden. Naraku asked himself, if Kaguya's inner eye was not opened, it would be difficult for even him to discover this sealing technique. He didn't believe that Orochimaru's perception was so strong. Orochimaru sneered at this, and did not explain anything. Forget it, let's just go together. There can't be any treasures in here. After a brief thought, Naraku prepared to go in with Orochimaru. Then Naraku put his hand on the door, and blue chakra emerged on the iron door. With Naraku's powerful perception ability, he quickly understood the sealing technique on the door. But what made him feel a little strange was that the sealing technique on this door was very similar to a sealing technique recorded by the Uzumaki clan. It even gave him the feeling that this sealing technique was set up by the Uzumaki clan. It seems that the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan are very likely to have the same ancestor, Naraku thought in his heart. 3 minutes later, Naraku breathed a sigh of relief and took his hand off the door. The sealing technique on the door is indeed extremely exquisite. In Naraku's view, what Orochimaru said is absolutely correct. If it were not for the Uzumaki clan who are proficient in sealing techniques, no one may be able to break this sealing technique. It seems that my nephew has succeeded. A glimmer of light flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and then he stepped forward and slapped the iron door with his palm. Boom. The next moment, a loud noise came, and then the iron door was opened directly. Aha. Aha. Almost instantly, two figures passed through the iron gate at the same time. It was Naraku and Orochimaru. It was dark inside the iron gate. Sharingan. Naraku, who had opened his Sharingan, could vaguely see two passages in front of him. At this moment, a figure exuding a cold aura rushed towards the passage on the right. It was Orochimaru. Uncle Master, you dare to know something? Naraku frowned slightly at this time. Judging from Orochimaru's various performances, he definitely knew something about this place. After a slight hesitation, Naraku turned and walked towards the passage on the left. He had a hunch that he might find something different here. Raising his right hand, fire attribute chakra surged out, and then turned into a red flame, which illuminated the walls around the passage. Naraku just took a quick glance, and found that there was nothing on the wall, so he stopped paying attention. At this time, he had been thinking about a question, which was the four figures carved on the iron gate. The ancestors of the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan above are most likely the two sons of the Sage of Six Paths, the descendants of Indra and Ajura. If not the two of them, then they are their descendants. As for the identities of the remaining two figures, Naraku began to guess in his mind. First of all, there should be one person from the Kaguya clan, otherwise this cannot explain why this iron gate appears under the ancestral hall of the Kaguya clan. As for the identity of this last person, is it the Hyuga clan? Naraku secretly thought in his heart. In the passage on the right, Orochimaru has reached the end of the passage. Now he is staring at the wall above his head, where a painting has been engraved. The painting shows a man with two horns and 6 megatama-shaped patterns engraved on his chest point. But the most attractive thing, apart from the pair of horns, are the ferocious-looking meridians in his eyes. Orochimaru looked excited, as if he had discovered something terrible. He tried hard to suppress his trembling body, and continued to look down. There were two figures kneeling in front of this man, one of whom had a pattern that Orochimaru was very familiar with engraved on his back. It seemed to be a pattern like an inverted triangle, and there was a whirlpool-like mark inside the triangle. For Orochimaru, who has lived in Konoha village since he was a child, this pattern is all too familiar to him. It is the emblem of the Hyuga clan, one of the two most powerful families in Konoha. Chapter 88. It's really a big snake bill. In the passage, haha, it's really interesting. The Hyuga clan of Konoha and the Kaguya clan of Kirigakure village have the same ancestor, and this man, with his first horns, is very similar to the legendary immortal of 6 paths. A trace of thought flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and then a strange light bloomed in his eyes. Senju, Uchiha, Hinata, Kaguya, haha, the bloodlines of these clans are indeed extraordinary. At this moment, Orochimaru seemed to have discovered a new continent, and the madness in his eyes became more and more obvious. In his mind, in addition to pursuing immortality, he also had a new goal, which was to study bloodlines. In addition to this painting, there is something like a scroll placed at the deepest part of the passage. Orochimaru walked up to the scroll and spread it out. Hiss. So, that's it. Orochimaru made a sound of surprise, but then he spoke with a sneer. These families are so ignorant. Then he no longer hesitated, and after quickly forming seals with his hands, wind escape, a big breakthrough, Orochimaru opened his mouth and spit out a violent gust of wind. The gust of wind roared past, and the carved painting on the wall was instantly torn into pieces, and turned into pieces of rubble and fell down. After doing this, Orochimaru took the scroll and left here. In the passage on the other side, like Orochimaru, Naraku also saw a carved painting, and an ancient scroll on the wall. He recognized at a glance that the man with horns on his head and a scarlet eye between his eyebrows was the sage of 6 paths. There were 2 people kneeling in front of him. Naraku guessed that they were Indra and Ajura. At this point, Naraku already had some guesses in his mind. He spread out the scroll and looked at the contents carefully. The scrolls were all written in words, and Naraku quickly read them all. This scroll records the origins of the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan, which is similar to what Naraku knows. It says that the Sage of 6 Paths is a common ancestor of the Senju and Uchiha. Moreover, these 2 clans also have some connections with the Kaguya clan. None of this surprised Naraku. What surprised him most was that the person who wrote the scroll and carved the painting were the same person. There is a short introduction about this person on the scroll. Kaguya Ming, an outlier of the Kaguya clan, compared with the clan members who are naturally good at fighting and love killing. Kaguya Ming only likes to study the development history of the ninja world. Both the passage and the Iron Gate were built by him himself. And the fact that the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan have the same ancestor was what he deduced after reading countless documents. What a talent, Naraku murmured. Then he put the scroll back to its original place and returned directly, as expected of you, Uncle Master. Looking at the destroyed paintings on the wall in the right passage, Naraku smiled bitterly. It's really a big snake bill. Naraku was not surprised by Orochimaru's move. He felt that Orochimaru's gains should be quite big this time. After all, he himself also gained some useful information. Uncle Master, our cooperation must continue. Then he turned around and left. After walking out of the Iron Gate, he reactivated the previous sealing technique. After doing this, he left the Kaguya clan's clan. Boom, boom, boom. On the field, members of the Kaguya clan fell to the ground one by one. At this time, Obito was covered in blood, and his black clothes were completely soaked with blood. However, he acted as if he didn't feel anything, and still shuttled through the crowd, harvesting those fresh lives. You are all going to die today. The only exposed right eye was crimson, revealing a hint of madness. Then he started to explode with all his strength, and soon, except for Kaguya Magu, all the other members of the Kaguya clan had been wiped out. But even if he was not dead, Kaguya Magu was already dying at this time. His chest was penetrated by a sharp giant tail, and red blood slowly flowed out. The 4th Mizukage, who was wearing a tailed beast's coat, looked coldly at Kaguya Magu in front of him, his eyes dull and devoid of any emotion. Controlled by Obito, he was like a puppet, no longer having any emotions and only obeying orders. Buff. The next moment, under his control, the other giant red tail smiled fiercely forward, and then red blood splashed everywhere, as if there was a rain of blood in the sky. The fishy smell makes people feel nauseous. After finishing dealing with Kaguya Magu, Yagura was stunned for a moment. Then he turned to look at the ninjas behind him. Kill the Kaguya clan, leaving no one alive. Men, women, old and young. Demonic words came out of his mouth. Yes, in an instant, dozens of figures flashed past, heading towards the Kaguya clan's territory. Success is a king and defeat as a bandit is the way of life and death. Naraku stood on the top of a nearby mountain, watching this scene with scarlet eyes exuding endless coldness. Maybe it was because he had been in this world for too long, and now he was used to everything here. Even though Naraku witnessed the tragedy of genocide with his own eyes, he didn't feel much sympathy. It's just that now he has become more determined in his inner thoughts, which is to become stronger in this cruel ninja world. He also has people he cares about. Only by constantly becoming stronger can he be able to fight against enemies like Otsutsuki in the future. Then Naraku turned around and left here. Now that he had found out the news about Kirigakure village, the mission was completed. He was ready to return to Lanhei City and return to the village with Yamato. Do you hate them? A trace of thought flashed across the young face of the white-haired boy, as if he didn't know what hate was. Well, then I will kill them to avenge you. As if talking to himself, Orochimaru's eyes flashed with excitement at this time, looking at the white-haired boy in front of him, as if he was looking at an extremely satisfying container. Pen, maybe you are not the only god, because Kirigakure village is surrounded by water. The temperature here will become very low at night, and biting cold winds will blow by from time to time. At this time, Naraku was walking on a bridge. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed, and he looked down at the young figure, huddled together at the end of the bridge. Perhaps, because of the cold, his whole body was trembling. Is it Bei? Naraku thought of the beautiful man in the original work, a tragic character, Minazuki Shiro, who could use ice escape ninjutsu. Looking at his trembling body, Naraku finally stopped. Because of him, Zabuza has been killed by Obito, so it is impossible for him to encounter Shiro here again. If Naraku left like this, Shiro wouldn't be able to survive tonight in his current state. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 Return to the Village, at Tsunade's plan. 3 days later, the border of the Kingdom of Water. A large boat stopped at the shore, and then the people on the boat got off one after another. Ugh. Naraku stood up and stretched. I'm finally back. Is this where brother Naraku lives? A young figure murmured, with fair skin and handsome face. It was Shiro, who Naraku brought here from Kirigakure village, who spoke. At this time, his eyes were full of curiosity. Naraku smiled slightly when he saw this scene. No matter what happens in the future, Shiro is just a child about the same age as Naruto. It's not here yet. We still have to walk for a while before we can go home. Naraku reached out and rubbed Shiro's head twice, then took him and Yamato off the boat. Because they were carrying Shiro and the mission was not urgent, Naraku and Yamato deliberately slowed down their march, so it took them another 2 days to get back to the village point. After entering the village, Yamato put Shiro down on his back, and Yamato was basically carrying him along the way. Thank you, Yamato Ni. Shiro said to Yamato in a gentle tone. You're welcome, Shiro. Yamato waved slightly, not caring about this. Then the three of them arrived at the Hokage's office. This is the descendant of the Minazuki clan. Looking at the young figure in front of her, Tsunade seemed to think of the current situation of the Senju clan. The Thousand Hands clan, that was once so prosperous, for some reason now only has her left. Ugh. After sighing softly, Tsunade said to Shizune beside her, go and apply for identification for this child. Okay, Tsunade-sama. After 3 years of assistant life, Shizune is already used to her current life, even though she is young. Little brother, let's go with sister. Shizune stepped forward to take Bei's hand, but the other party took a step back to avoid it. Shiro looked up and glanced at Naraku. After noticing Shiro's gaze, Naraku lowered his head and smiled. Go, I will pick you up later. It is good. Because of Naraku, Shiro believed in Shizune in front of him, and even took the initiative to reach out and hold her hand. After they left, the atmosphere in the office changed instantly. Shenfei looked at the scroll in his hand with a heavy expression. Then she raised her hand and waved back. Aha. Aha. The next moment, several figures flashed out of the darkness. After bowing to Tsunade, they all withdrew outside. At this time, only Naraku and Tsunade were left in the office. Do You suspect that the fourth Mizukage has been controlled? Tsunade said in a heavy tone. Naraku shook his head slightly. It's not suspicion, it's conviction. The fourth Mizukage had been controlled by others many years ago. 5 years ago, when Naruto was born, the Three Tails appeared inexplicably and launched an attack on Konoha. The fourth Mizukage is the three-tailed Jinchuriki, and a perfect Jinchuriki. Naraku said word by word. He was going to reveal a little bit of news first to give Tsunade, who is the Hokage, a shot of vaccination. In fact, Naraku got a lot of information during this trip to Kirigakure, and he had already begun to plan something in his mind. Is it really Uchiha Madara? He is really alive. Tsunade whispered. Naraku's words reminded her of the ninja Shura who was as famous as her grandfather. Uchiha Madara. No, I fought him in Kirigakure village. Although he is very strong, he shouldn't be the legendary Uchiha Madara, otherwise I might not be able to come back. Naraku said as if he was joking. However, his words did not make Tsunade relax her vigilance. After hesitating for a long time, she said, this matter will be kept secret for the time being to avoid causing panic to others. I will send someone to pay attention to Kirigakure. Tsunade rubbed her aching forehead, feeling increasingly annoyed by the Hokage's position. What she misses most now is when she used to travel around the ninja world alone. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the sound of knocking on the door came. Tsunade shook her head to drive those unrealistic fantasies out of her mind, and then said in a deep voice, please, come in. With a creak, the door opened, and a familiar figure walked in. Looking at the barb-like hairstyle, a smile appeared on Naraku's face. The person coming was Shisu, who went to U9 village to inquire about the news. After Shisu came here, Naraku said goodbye to Tsunade. Although he had a very good relationship with Tsunade, sometimes it was necessary to avoid suspicion. No matter what mission a ninja performs, these are the secrets of the village. Only the Hokage is qualified to know everything. Other people, except for their own missions, can only tell others any information with the permission of the Hokage. This is especially important in dark areas. But Naraku here had just walked downstairs when a masked Anbu appeared in front of him. Captain Naraku, Hokage-sama invites you. Forehead. Although he was a little surprised, Naraku could only turn around and go upstairs. As soon as Naraku entered the office, Shisu handed him a scroll. This is this? Naraku asked, and at the same time opened the scroll. What was recorded on it was the news that Shisu had inquired about in Cloud Hidden Village in the Kingdom of Thunder. The fourth Raikage is a militant, and just like him, Kumogakure is eyeing Konoha. At this time, Tsunade spoke, with a hint of helplessness in her tone. Naraku also expressed his understanding of this. After all, Tsunade had personally experienced the second and third ninja wars. He had seen too many casualties. His younger brother and lover all died on the battlefield. She hated war very much. However, the fourth Raikage had completely different ideas from hers. Naraku remembered that a few years ago, when the third Raikage was still in power, Kumogakure sent people to disturb the border of the Land of Fire. For this reason, he still guarded there for half a year. What about time? What instructions do you have, Hokage-sama? Naraku asked. He knew that Tsunade called him back for more than just showing him information. As expected, Tsunade spoke, since the Cloud Hidden Village dares to provoke Konoha like this, they must be shocked, and let them know that Konoha is not that easy to mess with now, Tsunade said in a cold tone. Naraku was slightly stunned by Tsunade's words, and then a trace of excitement flashed across his face when he realized it. He was very interested in Kumogakure village, with two perfect Jinchuriki, and the fourth generation who was extremely good at lightning escape. Raikage. These are all good opponents. A month later, Kakashi will return to the village. At that time, you, Kakashi, and Shisu, the three of you will go to Kumogakure village at the same time. The purpose is to shock the fourth Raikage and make him give up his plot against Konoha. Tsunade said with determination. Even though she hated war in her heart, she would not allow anyone to dare to insult Konoha. Chapter 90. Uzumaki Shiro, admitted to Ninja Academy. Naraku, who had just walked out of the Hokage's office, saw Shiro waiting for him, and next to him was Shizune, who was dressed in black. Besides them, there was a familiar figure. The red hair with blood flowing like a waterfall was none other than Uzumaki Kushina, and she was looking at Naraku with a half smile. Sister. Naraku was stunned for a moment, then glanced at Bei, and was about to explain something. Okay, now that the mission is completed, let's go home. Kushina's voice came over before Naraku could speak. Then she reached out and took Shiro's hand, taking Naraku home with her. Because it was Shiro's first day in Konoha, and also his first day in their little home, at Kushina's suggestion, the family went out and found a barbecue restaurant in the village to celebrate. Naraku and Naruto were very supportive of this, and Shiro agreed with a smile. Because Shiro was going to stay in Konoha for a long time, he needed an identity, so Shizune called Kushina over when she was helping him go through the formalities, and put Shiro's identity in her name. So now Haku has a new name, Uzumaki Haku. For Naruto, he had an understanding brother who loved him very much. For Kushina, there is one more person in the family who can really help her with housework. As for Naraku, he doesn't feel anything at all. If I have to say something, it would be that Shiro is a little too sensible, and being so sensible makes people feel distressed. Although he was only 1 year older than Naruto, he seemed to be much more mature mentally than Naruto. Both Naraku and Kushina were aware of this, and in a brief family meeting, they made a decision to send Shiro to the Ninja Academy. Now in a time of peace, the Ninja Academy in Konoha village teaches not only ninjutsu, but also some other very useful knowledge. More importantly, there are many children as old as Shiro there. Maybe there he can find his companions. After deciding on this matter, they notified Bei immediately and asked for his opinion. Looking at those two pairs of expectant eyes, Bei nodded and agreed to the matter after a slight hesitation. In response, Kushina reached out and rubbed his head twice. She knew that Shiro just agreed to live up to her and Naraku's expectations, but she believed that one day Shiro could truly integrate into their family. Naraku had the same idea. Now that Bei has agreed to go to the Ninja Academy, the rest is easy. Naraku approached Tsunade and mentioned the matter, and the other party agreed without thinking. The person who proposed the founding of the Ninja Academy was the second Hokage, Senjuta Biruma, who was also her second grandfather. In addition, she herself also attended the Ninja Academy, so Tsunade was extremely supportive of this matter. After settling Shiro's matter, Naraku smiled. The next day, the dazzling early morning sunlight shone through the window into the room. Because today was Shiro's first time going to the Ninja Academy, Kushina and Naraku both got up early, and even Naruto opened his sleepy eyes. Then, under the leadership of Kushina, all four of them rushed towards the direction of the Ninja Academy. Uncle, when can I go to school like my brother? Naruto, who was lying on Naraku's back, asked, with a hint of envy in his tone. Naraku was slightly taken aback by this. Don't worry, you can go to school when you are 1 year older next year. Yeah, because school was not starting now. Shiro was attending class as a transfer student, so there was no opening ceremony or anything like that, except that Kushina met a few familiar people at the school gate. Kushina, why are you here? Is Naruto old enough to go to school? In response, Kushina waved her hand slightly. No, Naruto won't be old until next year. This time, my other child is going to school. Kushina held Shiro's hand and said with a smile, another child? This person murmured in her mouth. She also worked at Konoha Hospital and was Kushina's colleague. She remembered that Kushina only had one child. Just when she was about to say something, she noticed Kushina's hinting eyes, and she seemed to understand something in an instant. At this moment, two figures, one large and one small, came to Kushina. What is strange is that the pupils of these two people are white. Byakugan, a special eye technique possessed by the Hyuga clan. Kushina, why are you here? The person seemed to be very familiar with Kushina. At the same time, he turned to look at Naraku and nodded slightly. Naraku nodded in response. He recognized the identity of the person. He was Hyuga Hisashi, the younger brother of Hyuga Hisashi, the current head of the Hyuga clan. As for the one he is holding in his hand, it should be Hinata Niji. Seeing these two people, Naraku thought of another thing. It's you, Hisashi. I'm here to take the children to school. Kushina smiled and spoke to the visitor. Send the kids to school. Hisashi glanced at Naruto on Naraku's back, then lowered his head and focused his gaze on Shiro next to Kushina. After a slight hesitation, he seemed to understand something. Niji. At this moment, a cheerful voice sounded, and then a girl with short hair, in twin ponytails came over. This is Shianshin when I was a kid. Looking at this cute little girl, Naraku recognized her identity point then. Under the leadership of Iruka, Shiro successfully completed the admission procedures. After seeing Shiro enter the classroom, Kushina and Naraku left here. Come on, Shiro. I hope you can live for yourself in this life. Thank you, brother Naraku, and mother Kushina. You are all very kind people. I must protect you. After leaving the ninja academy, Kushina went directly to work at Konoha Hospital. 3 years later, Kushina's mental strength has almost recovered. In the second year after Tsunade returned to the village, Kushina learned medical ninjutsu from her, so now she has finally found a job that suits her. Regarding this point, Naraku felt that the arrangement of the third generation was very good. Kushina, who worked at Konoha Hospital, would basically not leave the village, so she would not encounter any danger. Sister, it won't be long. Just after Kushina went to the hospital, Naraku and Naruto stared at each other, not knowing what to do for a moment. Oops. Suddenly, Naruto seemed to think of something and shouted, "Uncle, I have completely mastered the shadow clone technique." Really? Then come and show me. Naraku said, "It is good." Naruto nodded his little head downward, then formed seals with his hands and shouted, "Shadow clone jutsu." Boom. Boom. 2 white mist appeared on the field, and the next moment 3 Narutos shouted at the same time, "How about it? I succeeded." Chapter 91 Naruto's talent. Uchiha's abnormality. As expected, without the interference of Kyuubi, Naruto's training talent is also extremely top-notch. Looking at Naruto with a smile on his face, Naraku thought to himself, "Oh, by the way." Naraku seemed to have thought of something at this time, and then asked, "How was your duel with Sasuke? He shouldn't be able to beat you now." Sasuke, him, not as happy as Naraku expected. Naruto looked depressed at this time, and stammered when speaking. Naraku was slightly stunned when he saw this scene. He knew that Naruto must have been tortured by Sasuke again. But what makes him a little strange is that, now that Naruto has mastered the shadow clone technique, Sasuke should not be able to defeat him. But then I thought, since he can teach Naruto ninjutsu, then Itachi can also teach ninjutsu to Sasuke. Sasuke has mastered a fire escape ninjutsu, and my shadow clone was burned by him, Naruto murmured at this time. Although he was unwilling to say these shameless things, he couldn't care less. In order to become stronger, uncle, I also want to learn new ninjutsu, a powerful ninjutsu that can defeat Sasuke. Naruto raised his head and looked at Naraku expectantly. Boom. Naraku raised his hand and knocked twice on Naruto's little head and then said, "Naruto, you have to remember that there is no most powerful ninjutsu in this world, only the strongest person." The strongest person, Naruto murmured, and the next moment, "I don't care, I will learn powerful ninjutsu." Obviously, Naruto still can't understand this sentence. Good, then. I'm going to teach you a ninjutsu, you have to learn it hard. Naruto had no choice but to compromise. Aha. Naruto immediately became obedient when he heard that he could learn new ninjutsu, nodding his little head like a chicken pecking at rice. Naraku then handed over the ninjutsu of wind release and great breakthrough to Naruto. Wind suppresses fire. Coupled with Naruto's shadow clone technique, Naraku believes that if he learns this ninjutsu, he will be able to defeat the current Sasuke. Of course, defeat is only temporary, because Sasuke's strength will continue to improve. 3 days later, Konoha training ground. 2 figures, one large and one small, looked at each other. It was Naraku and Naruto. At this time, Naruto's hands were quickly forming seals. After a few seconds, a loud shout came, wind release, great breakthrough. A strong wind came out of his mouth and swept toward Naraku in front of him. Not bad, I mastered it in 3 days, Naraku murmured, with a look of relief on his face. Then the wind attribute chakra instantly appeared on his arm. Naraku just waved one hand and immediately set off a gust of wind, which offset the ninjutsu released by Naruto. Naraku himself possesses chakra with 3 attributes, wind, fire, and thunder. Now he has mastered the changes in form and nature of chakra with these 3 attributes. If you just release some simple ninjutsu, you don't even need to seal point a move like the one just now is to use the changes in the nature of wind attribute chakra to transform chakra into the nature of wind point. This is very similar to the Rasengan point. The thunder arrow that Naraku used before was also a ninjutsu created with reference to the Rasengan point. What I have to say is that his brother-in-law, Minato Namikaze, is indeed an extremely rare genius in some aspects. Even Naraku himself may not be comparable to him. When will I become as strong as my uncle? Although he successfully released the ninjutsu, Naruto was not too happy at this time. He was shocked by Naraku's strength. What are you thinking about, kid? When you grow up, you will naturally become as strong as your uncle. Now your task is to defeat Sasuke, Naraku said with a smile. In fact, Naruto could already release this ninjutsu on the first day, but he was not proficient in it. After 2 days of practice, he completely mastered this C-level wind escape ninjutsu. As soon as he heard that he was going to defeat Sasuke, Naruto immediately became excited. It wasn't until the next day, when Kushina was resting at home, that Naruto took the opportunity and insisted on pestering her to find Sasuke. Of course his reason was that he missed Aunt Mikoto and wanted to see her. What a little brat. Kushina reached out and flicked Naruto on the head. Kushina was fully aware of his little thoughts, but she thought she had nothing to do today, so she took Naruto with her. Because it is now a time of peace and there are few wars, the tasks of Konoha Hospital today are not heavy, and the internal management is also very humane. Even as the director, she has a few days every month in addition to normal holidays. Off time point, otherwise, she wouldn't have time to spend with Naruto today. Point their home was not far from the Uchiha clan, so Kushina brought Naruto here soon. Lady. The guard at the door saluted respectfully after seeing Kushina, and then immediately arranged for someone to notify Uchiha Mikoto. At the same time, someone led Kushina inside. Point along the way, Naruto's little head looked around curiously. Although it was not his first time here, he was a child after all, and he was full of curiosity about everything. Hello, Madam Yondaime. At this moment, a strange voice sounded, and Kushina turned around when she heard the voice. To her right, a young man with long black hair and an arrogant look on his eyebrows was staring at her and Naruto. The next moment, the man's eyes suddenly turned scarlet, and 3 black magatama slowly rotated in the eye sockets. Kushina's expression changed instantly when she noticed this scene, and she quickly took a step forward to protect Naruto behind her. Swish. At this moment, a figure in black suddenly appeared and stood in front of Kushina. Uchiha Itachi looked at the young man in front of him with cold eyes, and his eyes unconsciously exuded a murderous intent. Sasuke, are you? Just when Itachi was about to say something. Swish. A tall figure appeared. It was Fugaku. Father. Itachi was about to bow his head and salute when he saw the person coming, but Fugaku held out his hand to stop him. Escort the 4th lady to your home, Fugaku said in a majestic tone. Then he turned and gave Kushina an apologetic look. Kushina didn't care about this. She just stretched out her hand to block Naruto's gaze, and then she left here with Itachi. In fact, Kushina was used to this kind of thing. As a Jinchuriki, she had been glared at countless times when she was a child, but now she was worried about Naruto. Point she was worried that Naruto would end up like her and spend a childhood like that. Chapter 92. The current situation of the Uchiha clan. After Itachi took Kushina and the others away, Fugaku looked at Sasuke in front of him with a frosty look on his face. Clan snapped. Just as Sasuke was about to say something, Fugaku slapped him. Clan leader, you. Facing this scene, Sasuke seemed a little unbelievable. Point snapped. Snapped. Fugaku's face remained expressionless. He stepped forward and slapped him in the face a few more times. Then a cold voice came from his mouth. Put him in the clan prison. No one is allowed to visit without my order. As soon as he heard the word clan prison, Sasuke's expression changed completely. At this time, his eyes were full of fear, and then he shouted loudly, clan prison, you know who I am. You dare to let me go to clan prison. I'm the grandson of the great elder. How dare you send me to clan prison? Sasuke roared loudly. However, no one paid attention to him, and soon 2 people came forward to catch him and took him away. The clan prison is a place set up by the Uchiha clan specifically to punish members of the clan. In fact, if he was just being imprisoned, Zuosuke wouldn't be so excited. It's just that people who are imprisoned in clan prisons must first endure a punishment, which is to have their eyes removed. Gouging means to gouge out both eyes. This is the most severe punishment for the Uchiha clan, because for them, the Sharingan is their pride and the basis of their strength. Losing the Sharingan is like losing an arm or a leg to them. Aha. Aha. Just after Zuosuke was taken away, two figures suddenly appeared in front of Fugaku. The one with short red hair and black top is Uzumaki Naraku, and Uchiha Shizu came here with him. After seeing Naraku, Fugaku's majestic eyes suddenly changed, and he looked at Naraku apologetically. Then he lowered himself and apologized to Naraku as the leader of the clan. Although Kushina and Naruto were not harmed, this is Uchiha after all, and the person who disrespected Kushina just now was the grandson of the great elder of their Uchiha clan. At this time, Fugaku was very lucky that Itachi arrived in time. Otherwise, if Kushina or Naruto were harmed here, he, the leader of the Uchiha clan, would be entirely responsible. By then, the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the Hokage clan, that has just been eased, may soon fall to a freezing point again. You don't have to be like this, Chief Fugaku. I know it's not your fault, Naraku said slowly. However, there are still some people in your clan who are very dishonest. Naraku's face showed a cold light. Naraku still trusts Fugaku, Shizu, and Itachi, especially Itachi. After all, Itachi was the first to stand up when Kushina woke up. But trusting them is one thing, trusting the Uchiha clan is another. Although the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the current Hokage Tsunade has eased a lot because of his relationship with Kushina, Naraku knows that this is only temporary. Not to mention the village elders and advisors, their attitude towards the Uchiha clan has not changed much. And they will give Tsunade eye drops or something from time to time. Even the Uchiha clan is not harmonious within itself. Just like where there is light, there must be darkness. Some people like comfort, while others are dissatisfied with the status quo. This is what Uchiha is like today. Their clan is now divided into two factions. One is the clan leader led by Fugaku. They all long for peace and are unwilling to leave Konoha. They belong to the comfort sect. The second is the elders. Perhaps due to stubbornness or other reasons, their family is not satisfied with the status quo. All they want to do all day long is to subvert the rule of the Hokage family and let Uchiha come to power and become the boss. Belongs to the typical fierce fighting faction. Because most of those elders were Fugaku's elders, he had nothing to do with these old guys at this time. Fugaku's expression changed again and again, but in the end he still did not speak. He knows the current situation of the Uchiha clan better than anyone else. So he is also the most helpless as members of the same clan, and he is a clan leader. It is really difficult to make choices about some things. Seeing Fugaku like this, Naraku didn't say anything else, and left here, after saying a few words. I hope this is the first and last time that something like this happens today, otherwise I will have to go to Chief Fugaku to do something. Fugaku's face changed suddenly as he stayed where he was. Fugaku. A loud shout came at this moment. He saw an old man with white hair, wearing black clothes and the Uchiha clan emblem printed on his clothes striding towards him. There were more than a dozen people following him. Why was Zuosuke taken away? The old man asked Fugaku in a sharp tone. Great Elder, Zuoji. Shizu on the side was about to say something, but was interrupted by Fugaku. Uchiha Fumaki, you brought so many people here. Are you preparing to rebel? At this moment, Fugaku became majestic again, his tone cold and emotionless. Uchiha Fumaki, the old man in front of Fugaku, is the elder of the Uchiha clan and the leader of the Guild Wars faction. However, he also has another identity, that is, Fugaku's uncle, but at this time, the uncle-nephew relationship between them has long since disappeared, and they are full of hatred for each other. Haha, rebel. Uchiha Wenhua snorted coldly. I think you should be the one who wants to rebel. You want to put the clan members in clan prison for no reason. You, the clan leader, are really lawless. Have you forgotten the existence of our elders? Well, at this time, Fugaku's face was full of anger. Looking at the old man in front of him and the people behind him, he suddenly felt extremely disappointed. The decline of the Uchiha clan is not unreasonable, Fugaku thought in his heart. Uchiha Sasuke, in my clan's territory, attacked the 4th Hokage's wife, Uzumaki Kushina, in public. Is there anything wrong with me imprisoning him in clan prison? Great Elder. The elder's expression changed when he heard this. Just now, he just received the news that Zeduoji was imprisoned in the clan prison, so he hurried over. As for the reason, he didn't know, even. So, you can't put people in clan prison. What about the 4th Hokage's wife? No matter what, she is just an outsider. Do you want to kill a clan member because of an outsider? The elder said in a hoarse voice, his tone full of dissatisfaction with Fugaku, the clan leader. Seeing the great elder's nonsense, Fugaku no longer had the desire to continue talking nonsense with him. I am the current patriarch of the Uchiha clan. If the chief elder is dissatisfied with my decision as the clan leader, then convene a meeting of elders and wait for all the elders to agree before refuting my decision. After saying these words, Fugaku turned around and left here. Chapter 93 Idiot Ming, Stinky Assistant, the Future Savior. Uchiha Tribe, Itachi's home. Idiot. Neru, you still want to defeat me? Sasuke, a black-haired and somewhat cool-looking man, said with disdain to Naruto in front of him. Stupid. Assistant, today I'm going to let you see what a real genius is. Naruto looked excited at this time. He couldn't wait to see Sasuke defeated by him. These two children are really. Uchiha Makoto and Kushina on the side couldn't help laughing when they saw Naruto and Sasuke like this. Only Itachi, who was standing behind them, was silent and didn't know what he was thinking. Swish. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. It was Naraku. Hey, this has already started. Naraku said, looking at Naruto and Sasuke who were already fighting on the field point at this time. Naruto had stopped smiling, and his small face was full of seriousness. Although Naruto sometimes seems a little naive and even a little stupid, if you really understand him, you won't think so. At this time, he quickly entered the state, and quickly formed seals with his hands. Shadow clone technique. Boom, boom. 2 clouds of white mist instantly appeared on the field, and then 3 Narutos launched an attack on Sasuke at the same time. Humph. Sasuke snorted coldly. Although there was still some disdain on his face, his eyes were full of vigilance. The body leaned forward slightly, and then Sasuke's young body rushed forward, much faster than Naruto. Soon the two met, and the 3 Narutos hit Sasuke with their fists at the same time. At this moment, Sasuke felt a pressure instantly, and his small face was full of vigilance. He leaned back quickly, and after dodging the attacks of Naruto and the shadow clone, Sasuke put his hands on the ground, swung his legs quickly, and kicked directly towards one of the Narutos. With a bang, Naruto, who was kicked, turned into a puff of smoke and dissipated. Deal one of them. Sasuke secretly thought in his heart. Just when he was about to make a move, a figure had already come behind him, because at this time he was still in an inverted state, and could not react quickly. Hey, I caught you. Naruto was seen grabbing Sasuke's feet with both hands at this time, with a smile on his face. Naruto was very strong, and Sasuke tried several times to break free, but was unable to succeed. However, this did not trouble him. He only exerted force on his waist, and with the help of Naruto's grip on his feet, the carp straightened up, and jumped directly upwards. I want to let you succeed, Naruto shouted as he noticed Sasuke's movements, then grabbed his feet, and used force to throw him away. Boom. But the next moment, Sasuke's body suddenly turned into a cloud of smoke, and then a piece of wood fell to the ground. Idiot. Neru, you are still so stupid. Just when Naruto was confused, Sasuke's voice came over. At this moment, he was seen standing next to a small sapling. Then he took a step forward, his eyes fell on Naruto in front of him, and he shouted lowly, "It's over, Naruto." Then Sasuke began to form seals with his hands. It's that move. Naruto panicked when he saw this scene. The last time he was defeated by Sasuke's move. But it won't happen this time. Sasuke, this time I will win. Naruto's eyes instantly became determined, and at the same time he raised his hands and began to form seals quickly. Although he formed the seal one step later than Sasuke, the two completed their ninjutsu almost at the same time. Art. Fire escape. Oh, fireball. Wind. Escape. A big breakthrough. 2. Low shouts came at the same time. How could these two kids even use such ninjutsu? Mikoto and Kushina were shocked when they saw this scene. Itachi, Naraku. They both shouted at the same time, with a hint of pride and a hint of reproach in their tone. Naraku and Itachi looked at each other with helpless expressions on their faces. Sasuke's Go Fireball technique was taught to him privately by Itachi. The last time he had a sparring match with Naruto, he also used this technique behind Mikoto's back. Of course Itachi was present at the time and he did not cause any harm to Naruto. As for Naruto, needless to say, the two ninjutsu he currently masters were taught by Naraku. On the field, Sasuke opened his mouth and spit out a red flame ball with a diameter of about 1 meter. The fireball burned the air and emitted high temperature. The fireball emitted scorching high temperature and rushed towards Naruto quickly facing the scorching fireball. Naruto didn't panic at all. With a look on his young face, a pair of extremely determined eyes, Naruto opened his mouth and let out a violent blast of wind. Boom. The strong wind and the red fireball collided heavily. In an instant, the fireball was blown away by the strong wind and turned into several sparks flying out. How is it possible? Sasuke couldn't believe it when he saw this scene. He didn't believe how Naruto could master such a ninjutsu with such a stupid head. Haha, you bastard, you lose. At this moment, Naruto's laughing voice came over. Humph. Sasuke shouted coldly at this. How could he admit that he lost with his arrogant personality? The charming Sasuke looked in Itachi's direction. The meaning in his eyes was very clear. It's just that I want to learn a new ninjutsu, a ninjutsu that can defeat the idiot Naru. Haha, what do you think, you bastard? Just follow brother Naruto from now on. He will protect you. Naruto said with a stinking look on his face. The world of a child is very simple. Naruto thought that he had blocked Sasuke's most powerful attack and was able to defeat him, instead of being like an adult who could only tell the difference between life and death. Mom, uncle, I defeated Sasuke. At this moment, Naruto seemed to have thought of something, turned his head, and shouted to the side. He wanted to share his joy. Just when he was sparring with Sasuke, he saw Naraku, but to his disappointment, Naraku was no longer here, and Itachi disappeared with him. As for Kushina, she was busy chatting with Mikoto at this time, and ignored Naruto at all. Humph. Only Sasuke snorted coldly, picked up a wooden kunai on the ground, and walked towards the side. Hey, stinky assistant, where are you going? Wait a minute, big brother. Big brother wants to protect you. Naruto yelled and followed Sasuke. Idiot. Neru and bastard Sasuke, they are really two cute children. Naraku, who was not far away, murmured when he saw this scene. If they didn't understand the plot of the original work, no one would have thought that these two children would be the saviors of the entire ninja world in the future. Yes. Itachi standing opposite him also sighed, looking at Sasuke's young body. Sasuke, brother will definitely protect you. Itachi swore secretly in his heart. The Uchiha clan, let it be destroyed, if it is rotten. Chapter 94. The Kingdom of Thunder, Missions, Conspiracy. Hokage's office. Tsunade frowned slightly and looked at the content on the scroll carefully. The envoy from the Kingdom of Thunder has come to Konoha to communicate. Tsunade knew there must be some conspiracy here without even thinking about it. Cloud Hidden Village has been harassing the border of the Fire Country in recent years, which has caused the relationship between the Fire Country and the Thunder Country to not be very friendly. Not to mention, the second Hokage Senjutsu Berama died in the Land of Thunder. How could Tsunade forget such a family feud point? But now that Tsunade is the shadow of a village, some things still need to be handled. Notice calmly. So, even though she's something unusual, she did not turn away the delegation from the Kingdom of Thunder. The strong are not afraid of evil. Tsunade had this kind of mentality at this time. She was saying that she had already planned to let Naraku and others go to frighten Kumogakure, but now that the delegation from the Kingdom of Thunder had arrived in advance, she wanted to see what they had in store. Conspiracy. Tsunade's behavior once again gave Konoha the aura of being the #1 ninja village. Go and invite Uzumaki Naraku and Uchiha Shisu in a hotel in the Kingdom of U. Just today, the envoy from the Kingdom of Thunder has arrived here. The Kingdom of Tang is the border between the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Thunder. Whenever there is a conflict between the two countries, Tang's ego will be the first to suffer, especially in recent years. Cloud Hidden Village will send a group of ninjas to station here almost every few months. Jinxia, you should know the ultimate goal of this mission. On the surface, you are visiting Konoha and having friendly exchanges with them, but the ultimate goal is to capture the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. I understand. The man named Jinxia lowered his head and replied respectfully. For the sake of the village, we must bring back the Hyuga clan members this time, if we really can't do it. At this point, the man's tone paused slightly then a firm tone came from his mouth. Even if we sacrifice lives, we must bring the bodies of the Hyuga clan back to the village. Jinxia was startled when he heard this, and then a touch of determination appeared on his face. Yes, no, one does not cherish their own life, but there are always some things that are more valuable and meaningful than their own life. I'm going to have to work hard for you this time, Jinxia. I will wait for your good news in the village. Everything is for you, Nyan. Jinxia's tone sounded extremely firm. Yes, everything is for Kumogakuya. The man sighed softly in his heart. While I felt helpless, I also felt a sense of powerlessness. If it weren't for the fact that they had no other choice, they, Nyan, wouldn't even think of doing such a dirty thing. It's just that compared to other ninja villages, Kumogakuya has too few blood inheritance limits. Even Tsunagakuya village, the weakest among the 5 major ninja villages, has powerful ninjutsu such as sand gold and magnetic release. Not to mention Konoha, which is full of talents. Among the 3 major pupil techniques in the ninja world, Konoha alone has 2 of them, and the remaining one is extinct. It is precisely with those continuous talents that Konoha can gain the upper hand in the 2nd and 3rd ninja wars, and even fight on multiple fronts to suppress other ninja villages. That's why Kumogakuya wants to get the eyes of the Hyuga clan this time. They want to study the secrets in order to enhance Kumogakuya's vitality. Jinxia led his 2 men and set off in the direction of the country of Fire. In fact, this time he knew very well that it was almost impossible to take away the members of the Hyuga clan from Konoha openly. Even if Konoha is now in decline, it is impossible for people to take away members of the Hyuga clan. After all, that is the 2nd most powerful clan in Konoha, the Hyuga clan. Jinxia knew this very well, so he had already been prepared to sacrifice in his heart, and made a careful plan for this. Byakugan, Kumogakuya, must get it. A hint of madness flashed in Inoshita's eyes. Konoha office. Naraku and Shizu looked at the scroll in their hands, which contained information about the delegation from the Kingdom of Thunder visiting Konoha. In addition to the 2 of them, there were Narashikaku and several other powerful jounin in the village. There are also the heads of the Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan. In fact, it was said to be the Kingdom of Thunder, but Naraku knew very well that this was just a conspiracy created by Kumogakuya himself. Among the 5 major countries, the Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Fire are relatively wealthy countries, but there are slight differences between them. The Kingdom of Thunder favors martial arts, and most of their country's funds are used to train ninjas. Therefore, the Kingdom of Thunder has the largest number of ninjas among the 5 major countries, which even the Kingdom of Fire cannot compare with. Most of the funds in the Land of Fire are controlled by the daimyo. Due to limited funds, Konoha's development is still somewhat restricted. Generally speaking, even in the Kingdom of Thunder, the Raikage's power is greater than that of the daimyo, and the specific development direction of the Kingdom of Thunder is decided by the Raikage. In the Land of Fire, the Hokage's power is not that great. What do you think about this matter? Tsunade, the only one sitting present, said in a deep voice. Although Kumogakuya has signed a peace agreement with our Konoha, they have been secretly harassing our Fire Country border in recent years, so this time they are definitely not just coming to visit our Konoha. Narashikaku was the first to speak. The Nara clan has always been a village like Konoha's think tank. Naraku remembers that the people in charge of border security in the past few years were from the Nara clan. Kindness. Tsunade nodded, but since they have decided to come, we in Konoha have no reason to refuse. So when Kumogakuya's envoy arrives, everyone must pay attention, and be sure to pay close attention to all their movements in Konoha. Chief Fugaku and his clan, the job of monitoring Kumogakuya will be left to you, Tsunade said to the 2. Yes. They both spoke at the same time. Fugaku supported Tsunade's orders unconditionally, and Hizu would not have any objections. The Hyuga clan would obey any Hokage's orders. In recent years, under Tsunade's deliberate arrangements, the Uchiha clan has slowly been cooperating with people from other families to perform tasks, including the Hyuga clan. In addition to being a little uncomfortable at first, most families have gradually accepted the existence of the Uchiha clan. After all, Uchiha's powerful observation Sharingan plays a big role every time he performs a mission. Tsunade also handed over the security work that was originally responsible for the Uchiha clan to the Nara clan, the Hyuga clan, and the Uchiha clan. After explaining some things, Tsunade let everyone leave. Chapter 95 U9's plan. Kumogakuya, the mission. It seems that Nija's father passed away because of this incident. Looking at his ashes back in front of him, Naraku thought to himself. However, things should be different this time. The people in charge of Konoha today are not the third generation who is concerned about the country and the people, and who is looking forward and backward, but Tsunade, who acts decisively. Naraku knew that this time Tsunade would never compromise like the third generation in the original work. So Hinata Hisashi probably won't have to die this time, but Kumogakuya, it's really interesting. They seem to have created an opportunity for my handsome brother-in-law to be a hero to save the beauty. Naraku thought secretly in his heart, the country of soup. Shortly after they left the well, two strong figures came to the hotel. The bronze skin looked full of strength, and the white hair slicked back. This man was none other than the fourth generation Raikage, the ruler of Cloud Hidden Village. The man who came with him was wearing a black cloak, and his identity was unclear. Lord Raikage, the people in the hotel shouted respectfully. The entire hotel was now filled with people from U9 village, and this place had long become their stronghold. They have already set off down the mine, Lei Yang said in a deep voice. Yes, they are expected to arrive at Konoha village in 2 days. Yes, Lei Yang nodded slightly, a sharp look flashing on his plain face. Roll your eyes. Konoha, I will completely defeat you this time. The fourth Raikage thought secretly in his heart. Then he glanced back and said in a deep voice, since they have set off underground, you must also be prepared. Don't worry, Raikage-sama, I will definitely complete the mission. A firm female voice came from inside the cloak. It is good. 2 days later, several special guests were welcomed outside Konoha village. None other than the Kumogakuya messengers. Jinksha was the person in charge of this mission trip. In addition to him, there were 3 guards accompanying him. A group of 4 people arrived at the gate of Konoha village. They could see that there were more than a dozen figures waiting for them at the entrance of the village. The leader was Narashikaku. However, these people were only on the surface. In fact, the moment they appeared at the entrance of Konoha village, more than a dozen Anbu eyes were firmly locked on them, and their every move was caught. What? Naraku? As the captain of the Anbu, he would not miss such an occasion. However, after staying here for a while, he felt very bored and left. He knew that these few people couldn't make much trouble in Konoha village, not to mention that there were people from the Hyuga clan and the Uchiha clan staring at them 24 hours a day. Naraku even felt that their plan was difficult. Carried out. On the other side, Inosha walked into Konoha village under the leadership of Shikaku. Then Shikaku arranged for them to stay in a hotel on the grounds that they needed to rest after a long journey, and asked them to rest for a day before going to meet Tsunade tomorrow. Jinksha didn't have any objections to this, so he walked into the hotel with the 3 guards. As expected of the greatest ninja village in the past, the prosperity of Konohagakure far exceeds that of Kumogakuya. A sigh came from the well in the hotel. Even though he only had a brief glance, he was still shocked by what he saw in Konoha. Konoha just occupies the most fertile land in the ninja world. Sooner or later, Kumogakuya village will surpass them, said a guard named Yamaoka, who was the only one besides Inuka who knew about this mission. As for the other 2 people, they didn't know about this mission. It wasn't that they were untrustworthy, but the less people knew about it, the better. Yes, we Kumogakuya will definitely surpass them under the leadership of Lord Raikage. I'm willing to give anything for this, Jinksha said with firm eyes, and there was an aura of sacrificing life and death in his tone. Under the well, Shan Gang's tone was a little sad. In fact, he also knew that Shangang was destined to die this time. Unless he died, the mission would not be completed at all. In the hotel, Shangang and Jingshi stayed up all night and made a careful plan. First, let Jinksha secretly sneak into the Hyuga clan's territory and then kidnap a member of the Hyuga clan's clan, that is, Hyuga Hinata. They had already inquired about this in advance. Currently, the only members of the Hyuga clan are Hyuga Hatsuzu and his daughter Hyuga Hinata. Needless to say, Hyuga Hisashi, even Izuki might not be able to beat him, let alone kidnap him. Therefore, they can only target Hinata. If they develop in a good direction, they will successfully kidnap Hinata and bring her out of Konoha. However, they also know that it is almost impossible to take Hinata away in the heavily guarded Konoha. So there was a second plan, or this time it was the real plan. Inosha secretly held Hinata hostage and was discovered by Hyuga Hizu, who then killed him. The rest is for Yamaoka to appear. He will put pressure on Konoha village on the grounds that Konoha village killed an envoy from another country and finally make it compromise and hand over Hyuga Hisashi to them. Of course, if you want to do this, Yamaoka is not the only one, but also the fourth Raikage needs to come forward. In fact, their plan seems to be very good, but there is a fatal flaw, that is, how to avoid those who monitor them underground. Those people are all ninjas from the Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan. Byakugan and Sharingan, almost no one can escape the observation of these two pairs of eyes. However, Union village has already made arrangements for this. The reason why they arranged for Jinksha to come over was not because of how strong he was, but because he was good at a very special hidden ninjutsu. This ninjutsu can temporarily seal all the chakra in his body, making him look like an ordinary person, thereby avoiding the surveillance of Konoha ninjas. Early the next morning, Shikaku brought people to the hotel again and took Inoshita to meet Tsunade. After a while of greetings, Tsunade handed the person to Shikaku and asked him to take Inoshita with him. Take a walk around Konoha village. Naturally, Jinksha will not refuse this. He can just get familiar with the environment and terrain, which will facilitate him to complete the task. In a hidden cave outside Konoha village, a tiger-striped mask covered his entire face. Only the scarlet right eye was revealed. It was Obito. I didn't expect Kushina to be alive. Obito murmured. Yeah, I didn't expect the fourth generation to master that level of sealing technique. Even the tail beast can be divided into two halves to seal it. A figure wrapped in pitcher plants emerged from the wall. The half black and half white body looked very strange. Since you are still alive, let me visit you, Master Wife. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. The Union mission was all arrested. Late at night, in the hotel, Jinksha, who was sleeping soundly on the bed, suddenly opened his eyes. The next moment, he disappeared from the room in a flash. At the same time, another figure climbed onto his bed again. Then Jinksha disguised himself and successfully sneaked out of the hotel. Call outside the hotel. Aisha breathed a sigh of relief. The first step was now complete, but he did not relax his vigilance. There was still some distance from here to the Hyuga clan's territory, and now was the most dangerous time. If they were discovered midway, their plan would be in vain. Jinksha hurried towards the direction of the Hyuga tribe with extreme caution. Maybe he was lucky and no one noticed him along the waypoint, but he didn't notice the figure following behind him. At the same time, the Enbu responsible for monitoring the members of the mission had also taken action, and soon they had all three people under control except the detain them temporarily and wait for Hokage-sama's orders. The Enbu team leader Hinata Hui gave the order. Yes, soon. Several people came forward and took away the controlled people. The people in the hidden cloud village are really brave. Do they really think that our Uchiha clan is just decoration? A man with side bangs said in a disdainful tone. Haha. Hinata Hui sneered at this. Although he didn't speak, his eyes full of ridicule still fell on the other party. Hinata. Fire. What do you mean? If you don't accept it, let's go out and fight. Uchiha Maple Fire shouted loudly. The people around seemed to be used to this scene and ignored them at all. They searched the hotel to see if they could find anything. HMPH. Who has time to play with you here? Hinata Huo snorted, then turned and left here, leaving only Uchiha Malefier with an angry look on his face. They are both team captains under Naraku, and they are very familiar with each other, but maybe because they both have the word fire in their names, they have always been difficult to deal with. Normally it would be fine if Naraku was present, but if Naraku was not there, the two of them would definitely quarrel, and sometimes even spar point the other side. As expected, the target is Hinata, Naraku murmured as he followed Aisha to point the U9 village side obviously overestimated the hiding ability of the well. Naraku just set up a warning formation outside the hotel and easily discovered the well that secretly left point originally. Naraku was going to ignore their little actions this time. He knew that the result of the other party would be to be killed by Hinata and his point. He was just an envoy of U9, so if he killed him, he would kill him. He felt that it was no big deal. Naraku felt that even if Tsunade knew about this, she wouldn't care. Kumogakure's threats and the daimyo's pressure would only have an effect on the third generation point. If Tsunade really found out about Rizu's killing of Kumogakure's messengers, Naraku estimated that she would also kill the remaining Kumogakure people. But now that he has discovered it, it would not be a good idea to just pretend not to see it. In a room of the Hyuga clan, young Hinata was sleeping soundly. In her sleep, she didn't realize that a figure had quietly approached her. Jinx's figure quietly appeared next to Hinata. This is a cruel world, a world without right or wrong. If you want to blame it on you being born into the Hyuga clan. Inaka held a piece of black cloth and was about to cover Hinata's mouth, but the next moment a pair of scarlet eyes appeared in his sight. Before he could finish his words, Jinx lost consciousness and his body swayed and fell towards the ground. This is my nephew's wife, there must be no accidents, Melo thought to himself. As he spoke, he flashed his hand and caught the well that was about to fall to the ground. Then, after taking a look at Hinata's cute face, he left here. As soon as Naraku walked out of the room with the fainted Inaka, he saw a figure already standing outside the house. It was none other than Hyuga Hizu, the leader of the Hyuga clan. Hyuga clan leader. Naraku greeted with a slight nod. Uzumaki Naraku. Hizu frowned slightly, especially when he saw the well lying under Naraku's feet. Kumogakure's messenger, Hinata. For a moment, Rizu's expression changed immediately after he reacted. He took a step forward and was about to walk towards Hinata's room. Wait a minute. Head Hyuga. Your daughter is fine. She may be sleeping now, so don't disturb her, Naraku said with a smile. Or, you can just observe it with your white eyes. Concern leads to chaos. Naraku's words reminded Rizu. A strange energy flashed out in his eyes, and then the meridians on both sides of his eyes were fully revealed. Under Byakugan's observation, Hizu saw a light blue energy in the room, and Hizu knew that it was Hinata. After confirming Hinata's safety, Hizu slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Kumogakure's envoy deliberately approached the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan, probably for Byakugan. It seems that the Hyuga clan leader should be more careful, Naraku reminded. Thank you. Hizu thanked him sincerely. He did not look down on Naraku because of his age. What's more, this time the other party saved his daughter. Naraku waved his hand slightly at this. The specific purpose of the Kumogakure mission will not be known until the Anbu interrogation. At that time, I will ask someone to send you a piece of information. After saying that, Naraku left here in a flash with the fainted Jinxia figure. Uzumaki Naraku is really a genius who is not weaker than the fourth generation. Looking at Naraku's leaving figure, Hizu murmured in his mouth. That is the leader of the Hyuga clan. He still knew some news. Danzo's death, the third generation's abdication, and it was Uzumaki Naraku who caused all of this. Let's go visit the fourth lady tomorrow. With this thought in his mind, Hizu walked into Hinata's room. After confirming her safety, he did not leave and sat in the room like this all night. Anbu, Naraku brought Inosha back here. Team leader, Uchiha, Malefier and Hinata Fire shouted at the same time. They admired Naraku from the bottom of their hearts. Although he was young, he had saved their lives more than once in missions, so they both felt very sincere towards Naraku. Send the person to the interrogation department to see what Kumogakure's plan is. Naraku threw the well to the ground and said, What? Then he raised his hand and yawned, looked at the two of them and said, "This has been hard work for most of the night. After I send him over, you can take turns taking a rest. It is good." After confirming the person sent him away, Naraku also set off to return home. It was just when he got home that he noticed something was wrong. Chapter 97 Enemies Meet, Kushina's Outburst. Konoha Village. Naraku, who had just returned home, narrowed his eyes slightly and frowned as he looked at the dim lights still on in the room. That was Kushina's room. It was already past 1 in the morning, so there was no way she wouldn't sleep. Kaguya's inner eye opened, and her powerful perception ability instantly covered the entire area. The next moment, Naraku's expression changed, his figure flashed, and he rushed into the room in an instant. In this room, he only felt the breath of Naruto and Shiro, and Kushina disappeared. In the room, Naraku only saw Naruto lying on the bed, sleeping soundly, and Shiro who had fainted. Sure enough, there was no sign of Kushina. "Where did you go?" Naraku frowned slightly, and Kaguya's inner eye's perception range was instantly maximized. With him as the center, he could see any energy fluctuations within a kilometer around him. "No," Naraku murmured, and then he held Shiro in his arms, and then prepared to reach out to hug Naruto. He planned to send the two children to a safe place, and then he went to find Kushina. But the moment his arm touched Naruto's body, a dark red energy emerged on him. This is the power of Kyuubi. Could he be? Naraku's eyes suddenly turned scarlet, as if he thought of something, and the pattern of 6-pointed stars glowed red in his eyes. Then he gently peeled off Naruto's eyelids, and the next moment his consciousness came to Naruto's body. Kushina was lured away by that masked man. Naraku heard Kyuubi's voice as soon as he came in, and his expression changed drastically the next moment. Why did he appear in Konoha? A sharp light flashed in Naraku's eyes. He didn't expect Obito to appear in Konoha village at this time. Could it be that he came here after knowing the news that my sister has woken up? No, sister, she has been awake for 3 years. If she wanted to come, Obito and the others would have been here long ago. How could they wait until now? Naraku murmured to himself. He really couldn't figure out why Obito appeared in Konoha at this time. And sister. Because he was anxious, beads of sweat began to appear on his face. Kit. Just then Kyuubi's voice sounded again. Don't worry too much. Kushina is now protected by my half body. The masked man can't do anything to her in a short time. What you have to do now is to find her quickly. Just like Hizu before, Naraku was also concerned and confused at this time, but after Kyuubi's reminder, he reacted immediately. This is my chakra. You can use it to sense the position of my half body. Kyuubi spoke again, raising his front paws and sending a ball of dark red energy to Naraku. Thank you, Joshiro. A trace of gratitude appeared in Naraku's eyes, and then he slowly closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he had returned to reality. Shadow clone technique. Boom, boom. 2 clouds of white mist appeared, and then the 2 shadow clones picked up Shiro and Naruto at the same time, and then rushed in the same direction at the same time, which is the clan of the Senju clan, and where Tsunade currently lives. In today's Konoha, apart from Jiraiya, Tsunade is undoubtedly the person Naraku trusts most. As for the Uchiha clan, their trust has not yet reached this level. Over there, the main body. Naraku raised his head and looked in the direction of the mountain behind Konoha. At this time, there was a dark red energy in his hand. He could feel this energy helping him guide the direction. In that case, let's go. The scarlet 6-ray pattern appeared in the eyes again, and the powerful pupil power burst out instantly. Shuankang. The next moment, Naraku's figure disappeared directly. A figure flashed across the sky 5 kilometers away, but disappeared again the next moment. The back mountain of Konoha. Gudu. Gudu. At this time, Kushina's whole body was covered in dark red energy. 3 red tails were swaying behind her, and a powerful aura emanated from her body. You have actually used the power of the Kyuubi to this extent. Obito, who was in front of Kushina, thought to himself. Looking at the familiar tiger pattern mask in front of her, Kushina felt a surge of anger in her heart. She would never forget what happened that night. If it weren't for the man in front of her, how could her husband have died? How could she have been unconscious for so long? How could her brother and son have suffered such a crime? Point boom. A more violent energy emerged from her body, and the dark red energy covered the entire area like a tsunami. Kushina. You. In the consciousness space, the expression of the yin attribute Ninetales changed, just when he was about to say something. 9. Trumpets. Help. Me once. Kushina gritted her teeth and said. After a brief silence, okay. The next moment, a large amount of dark red energy surged out from Yunjiuo's body and headed towards Kushina outside the cage. Roar. Kushina in the outside world let out a beast-like roar. At this time, she was simply accepting the chakra of the Ninetales, so she still maintained the state of a tailed beast. Point. But her consciousness did not disappear. Point boom. Boom. The 6 giant tails kept slapping the ground, and the ground shook violently for a while. Point cool out. The next moment, a giant red tail tore through the air and stabbed straight towards Obito. Point Obito's pupils shrank, and the next moment his figure immediately became illusory. The emptiness started, and the giant tail passed through his body. Uzumaki Kushina. Haha, she is really a very impulsive woman. Obito's hoarse voice came. But it was obvious that Kushina just wanted to vent her anger at this time, and ignored his words. Boom, boom, boom. The 7 tails turned into steel whips and continuously attacked Obito, but he used virtualization to dodge them all. Kushina, Yunjiuo in the consciousness space murmured, and then stopped sending chakra. Point. Although his relationship with Kushina was good, he had not yet reached the point of being a perfect Jinchuriki, and if he continued to channel chakra, Kushina would lose consciousness. If that happens, things will be in trouble. Point on the field. Although Kushina had tried her best to attack Obito, facing the opponent's powerful virtualization ability, she could not think of any good way for a while. Haha, you really like to play. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded behind Kushina. Point hearing this somewhat familiar voice, Kushina quickly turned her head, and a huge pitcher plant appeared in her sight. It was Zetsu. Call out. Without hesitation, a dark red giant tail stabbed towards Zetsu under the control of Kushina. Point she had not forgotten that this man had plotted against her back then. Chapter 98 Obito's shock. Facing the attack from the red giant tail, Ju still had a smile on his face, and then he dived directly into the ground. Boom. The giant tail slapped onto the ground, making a violent sound, and raising a puff of smoke. Zetsu, who thought he had escaped the attack, slowly raised the huge pitcher plant up again. What? At this moment, Kushina let out an angry shout, suddenly followed by several air-piercing sounds. Call out, call out, call out. In an instant, all 7 giant tails attacked Zetsu. Forehead. Ju was slightly stunned at first, and then without any hesitation, he activated the Earth Dragon hidden technique and escaped underground. But it was obvious that this time he would not be able to escape the attack so easily. Boom, boom, boom. There were loud noises on the field, and even the ground began to shake. 1 or 2 screams could be faintly heard under the ground. The shock lasted for a long time, and it wasn't until Zetsu appeared next to Obito again that Kushina stopped attacking. At this time, Ju was breathing heavily, and half of his white body had become dilapidated. You haven't taken action yet. What are you waiting for? He said to Obito beside him with some resentment. Well, are you teaching me how to do things? Obito looked at him with cold eyes. You're just a chess piece, and you dare to do this to me? Black Zetsu secretly thought in his heart, but he still endured it. In order to resurrect Kaguya's plan, Uzumaki Naraku will be here soon. Now is not the time to attack Kyuubi. It's best to retreat first. As he spoke, Ze's body slowly dived into the ground, and then accelerated away from here. The reason why they left like this was not because they were afraid of Uzumaki Naraku, but because in their plan, the tailed beasts were to be absorbed starting from the first tail. Even if the 9 tails were captured now, it would be of no use. Uzumaki Naraku, the younger brother of my master's wife, let me see how far you have grown now. Obito thought secretly in his heart. Swish. Under the hazy moonlight, a figure flashed past, and it was Naraku who came from the village. Sister Naraku, who had just arrived here, saw Kushina who had transformed into a tailed beast. Looking at Kushina, who was completely enveloped in dark red energy, Naraku's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Gudu. Gudu. Just after Naraku arrived here, the dark red energy around Kushina instantly retracted, and she soon returned to her original appearance. Kit, that incident a few years ago has caused huge damage to Kushina's physique. Even now that her spirit has fully recovered, she still cannot withstand my energy for a long time, so the next thing will be left to you. Got it? A heavy voice sounded in Naraku's ears. Body injured. Naraku's face changed slightly when he heard this. He had never known about this. He always thought that Kushina's body had already recovered. Naraku glanced at Kushina slightly reproachfully. Kindness? Kushina hadn't reacted at this time. She roared at the Kyuubi in her body. Kyuubi, what are you doing? Lend me your chakra quickly. Kyuubi didn't seem to hear this, lying on the ground and covering his ears with his two front paws. Well, you Kyuubi, it seems you want me to use violence, Kushina said with an angry look on her face, and then she was about to use strong methods to extract the Kyuubi's chakra. Okay, sister, leave it to me. At this moment, Naraku's voice came over. Naraku, him. Kushina hesitated when she heard this. Although she knew that her brother was very strong, the person in front of her was probably the legendary Uchiha Madara. Even Minato was tricked to death by him back then. I know he's Madara Uchiha, but so what? No matter who it is, they can't hurt you again, sister. Of course, Naraku said the last sentence from his heart. Naraku then turned to look at Obito, and the next moment, scarlet eyes appeared, staring straight at Obito in front of him. Naraku made up his mind to make Obito pay a price, no matter what today, so that he would give up his plan to attack Kushina and Naruto in a short time. As for killing him, Naraku knew that this was a bit unrealistic. If Kakashi was here now, it would be almost the same. Otherwise the opponent's hollow would be really difficult to deal with. Sharingan, Uzumaki clan, how is this possible? At this time, Obito was stunned when he looked at Naraku's scarlet eyes. He did not expect that Naraku also had a Sharingan. As a pure Uchiha clansman, he could feel that Naraku's eyes were not obtained through transplantation, but Sharingan eyes that could be used flexibly like their clan. At the same time, Obito felt a familiar aura on Naraku. Mist Hidden Village. He thought of meeting a man in a cloak in Kirigakure village, whose aura was almost exactly the same as Naraku's. Thunder. Escape. Thunder arrow. Naraku didn't give Obito much chance to react. He raised his right hand and the blocks between his fingers began to flash. Call out. Call out. Dozens of thunder arrows formed by blocks rushed towards Obito in front of him at great speed, and the sound of cracking through the air continued to be heard. Obito did not make any move in response, letting the thunder arrow penetrate his body. At the same time, his hands were constantly forming seals, and then after the last thunder arrow penetrated his body, a low shout came. Fire escape. Storm dance. The air in front of Naraku suddenly began to twist rapidly, gradually forming a storm, and then Obito opened his mouth and spit out a ball of crimson and hot flames. The flames and the storm combined together and turned into a flame tornado that swept towards Naraku at great speed. Naraku was not afraid of this at all. The power in his eyes exploded instantly, and the 3 Megatama Sharingan rotated rapidly, and the next moment it turned into a scarlet 6-pointed star pattern. Main Gekial Sharingan. Obito was completely shocked when he saw this scene. He couldn't believe that a member of the Uzumaki clan could freely activate the Sharingan of their Uchiha clan, and now he had even mastered the main Gekiao. Susanoo. Naraku let out a low shout, and then his chakra and eye power exploded. A dazzling golden light appeared on him. The next moment, the golden half Susanoo floated above his head, covering him and Kushina behind him. Boom. At this moment, the flame tornado had arrived in front of Naraku, and then collided hard with the golden Susanoo. For a moment, crimson flame splashed out, and the golden Susanoo shook violently twice, but in the end he blocked the attack of the flame tornado. Even Susanoo has mastered it. At this time, Obito's scarlet right eye narrowed slightly, and he actually felt a trace of fear in Naraku. Chapter 99. The man in black robe secretly sneaked into Konoha village, the home of the Senju clan. After Tsunade returned to the village to inherit Hokage, she has been living here. In addition to her, there are Shizune and 2 attendants she invited. Tsunade, who was already asleep in the middle of the night, seemed to sense something, Her eyes opened suddenly, then she got dressed and walked out of the house. Naraku, why is he here at this time? Tsunade frowned slightly. As the clan of the Senju clan, many isolation formations were set up nearby. After all, her grandmother Uzumaki Mito was also proficient in various sealing techniques and formations. In addition, Naraku did not hide his aura, so Tsunade sensed his arrival immediately. At the gate of the clan, Naraku's two shadow clones each held a child in their arms. It was Naruto and Shiro Point at this time. There were two Anbu personnel wearing masks. Captain Naraku, this is you. Although he recognized Naraku's identity, the Anbu did not directly let Naraku enter the clan territory, but asked tentatively. As the Anbu directly under the Hokage and able to become the Hokage's bodyguard, there is no doubt about their loyalty, so even though Naraku's position is higher than his, he still dares to stop him. The shadow clone also understood that this was his duty. He didn't say anything, he just waited here for Tsunade's arrival. He could already feel Tsunade coming this way. Naraku, why are you here so late? Tsunade's voice came over a minute later. Then her figure also appeared in front of Naraku. After waving his hand to signal the Anbu to step back, Naruto, Haku, how do you take them? Tsunade, who was about to say something, seemed to think of something, and her expression changed instantly. What's wrong with Kushina? An urgent tone came from her mouth. Sister, she was lured away by the masked man, but the main body has already gone to look for them, and they should have been found by now, the shadow clone said slowly. These two little guys may have to be put under your care first. It is good. Tsunade nodded. She also felt that what was in front of her was just Naraku's shadow clone, so she didn't say much. She picked up Naruto and Shiro one by one, and then Tsunade returned to the room. She still fully recognized Naraku's strength. In addition, her hemophobia was only just in the recovery stage, so even if she did follow him, she wouldn't be able to help him much. As for healing, for the Uzumaki clan, ordinary injuries did not require her to take action. Kushina, you must come back safely. As for the two shadow clones, they were all guarding outside the clan. Outside Konoha village, in the silent night sky, a man in a black cloak appeared at the entrance of the village. They really failed down there. The man murmured in his mouth. In this case, this is the only way to do it. Then she sneaked into the Konoha village in a flash. Because she used special concealment ninjutsu, the Uchiha and Hyuga clans who were on guard did not find her traces. This aura is Kyuubi. Is the Ninetales really divided into two? As soon as she entered Konoha village, she looked towards the back mountain of Konoha, where she felt a familiar energy wave. The Ninetale Jinchuriki goes berserk. Opportunity. At the same time, everyone in Konoha village also noticed the powerful energy coming from the back mountain. Some of them rushed towards the Senju clan's territory, while others rushed directly towards the mountains behind Konoha. Haha, Kyuubi went berserk. What a retribution. For a moment, Konoha village once again became turbulent because of this violent energy. But after a while, the violent energy disappeared. This made everyone feel happy, but also a little confused. They didn't know what happened. The back mountain of Konoha, haha, carrying the whirlpool, the blood of both Uchiha clans, Obito said in admiration as he looked at Naraku who was shrouded in golden Susanoo in front of him. You are really surprised. Then, let me see how far your Sharingan can see. Obito held a chain in each hand and rushed towards Naraku. Naraku was not afraid of this at all. In order not to affect Kushina in the battle, he appeared directly outside Susanoo in a flash, and a silver long knife appeared in his hand. Crack. Crack. Blue thunder and lightning instantly enveloped his whole body. Under the stimulation of lightning, the cells in his body were divided at an accelerated rate. At this moment, Naraku's speed and reaction ability were greatly enhanced. Trip. Trip. At this time, only the footsteps of two people sounded back and forth in the silent night sky. With the long knife across his chest, Naraku rushed straight towards Obito. Obito also ran towards him with the chain in hand, and the two of them were in contact with each other in an instant. Stab it. The chain collided with the long knife, causing a dazzling spark. ZHI. ZHI. Blue electric arcs covered the entire blade, and the next moment dense thunder and lightning exploded on the long blade. Thunder slash. Naraku let out a low shout, then swung the sword forward with both hands, and a lightning sword light struck out. Naraku, who has been with Kakashi all day long, has secretly learned this trick. Although his sword skills are not as good as Kakashi's, his large amount of thunder attribute chakra is enough to make up for it. Boom. The lightning blade tore through the air and rushed straight towards Obito in front of him at great speed. Click. The chain in Obito's hand was shattered the moment it came into contact with the light of the lightning sword, and the next moment the sword light continued to rush forward unabated. Obito's pupils trembled slightly when he saw this. The space instantly fluctuated, and then the sword light passed directly through his body. What an annoying trick. Naraku couldn't help but complain in his heart. Uzumaki Naraku, it's really full of surprises, Obito murmured, and then his body was lifted from the virtual state, and he held the iron chain, and attacked Naraku again. The two fought again. 5 years have passed since the battle with Minato 5 years ago. During this time, Obito has not given up training. As his strength has increased, his control of Kamu has also become more and more proficient. He is confident that, even if the 4th generation stands in front of him, he can still suppress the opponent. Of course, if the 4th generation will not run away. Otherwise, if the 4th generation uses the flying thunder god to escape far away, he will not be able to trap him. On the field, the scarlet 6-pointed star pattern in Naraku's eyes became brighter and brighter. At the same time, his speed became faster and faster. Correspondingly, Obito used virtual blur more and more often. No, if this continues, even if the 1st generation cells recover quickly, my pupil power will not be able to keep up with the consumption. Obito thought secretly in his heart. You have to find a chance to meet him. Chapter 100. Another baptism of blood. The back mountain of Konoha. Naraku held the sword in both hands and swung a sharp sword light again, but Obito used the virtual blur to dodge it. Haha. Naraku gasped for air, and 2 bloody tears slowly flowed from his eyes. Then he quickly took a step back and distanced himself from Obito. Haha, you are not the one who abused the Manjaki Sharingan like this. Obito snorted in his heart when he saw Naraku like this. The opportunity has come. He flashed and rushed to Naraku with the chain in hand. The chain quickly wrapped around Naraku like a long snake. At this time, Naraku seemed to have consumed too much, and his body reaction could no longer keep up, so he was succeeded by Obito. It's over, Obito murmured, and the next moment his divine power was activated. The surrounding space instantly vibrated. At this moment, Naraku felt a strong suction coming from him, and his body wanted to be absorbed into a different space uncontrollably. Yes, it's time to end. Uchiha Obito. Naraku secretly thought in his heart, and the next moment, powerful eye power and chakra burst out at the same time. Black flame thunder, shun, Kang. The abilities of both eyes were activated at the same time. First, a black flame appeared on Obito, and then Naraku disappeared instantly. What's going on? This feeling. Obito frowned slightly. This familiar scene made him feel very uncomfortable. Well, suddenly, a sharp pain appeared in his body. Black flame. Obito looked down at the black flame on his body, and he felt a powerful and domineering energy on it. Without any hesitation, he directly used the divine power to transfer the flame attached to his body into the divine power space. As Obito's eye power spreads, the black flames began to twist. It's now. At this moment, Naraku suddenly appeared behind him, and the black thunder in his right eye burst out again. Chakra and eye power exploded at the same time, and a stream of blood tears slowly flowed from the right eye. Black flame thunder. Then a large amount of black flames instantly appeared on Obito. At this time, Obito was using his divine power to transfer the black flames just now. Now so many black flames appeared all at once. Even he would need some time to transfer all the black flames away. For a moment, Obito fell into passivity. Crack, crack. At this moment, the thunder and lightning hidden in the black flame began to explode. For a moment, Obito's body was covered with black arcs. The dense thunder and lightning made him feel a strong sense of paralysis. If most of his body wasn't made up of 1st generation cells, Obito felt like he might not be able to move his body. Even so, he felt a strong burning sensation erupt in his body. Uzumaki Naraku. Goodbye. At this point, Obito chose to retreat, and then his figure became illusory and disappeared together with a black thunder on his body. Evacuated, Naraku murmured as he watched Obito disappear, and then he was worried and directly opened Kaguya's inner eye, and his powerful perception directly covered this area. After confirming that Obito had really withdrawn, Naraku breathed a sigh of relief. Then the scarlet eyes disappeared, the eyes returned to normal, and the golden Susanna surrounding Kushina also disappeared. At this moment, Naraku felt a strong pain coming from his eyes. Then he slowly opened his eyes, and his vision was blurred for a moment. It was not until a few seconds later that he recovered. "Are you okay, Naraku?" At this moment, Kushina's slightly worried voice sounded from behind him. In fact, when Naraku and Obito were fighting just now, he wanted to join, but was trapped by Naraku using Susanoo. "I'm fine." Naraku turned around and shook his head slightly, and then he asked about Kushina's body. But Kushina didn't want to say more. She just told him that it was no big deal, but she couldn't use the power of the Nine Tails easily. Naraku expressed doubts about this. He felt that Kushina must be hiding something from him. In a cave not far from the back mountain of Konoha, a spatial vortex suddenly appeared in the originally silent cave, and then wisps of black flame poured out from the vortex, until the last slightly embarrassed figure appeared in the cave, a broken orange tiger striped mask, and the left half of his face was full of wrinkles. It was Obito. Although he hid behind the divine power space, he was still injured by Heian. I didn't expect Uzumaki Naraku to have grown to this point. Compared with the 4th generation back then, it is not far behind. A slightly heavy voice sounded, and then Zetsu, who was shrouded by a giant pitcher plant, came out of the wall. "It's just a matter of showing off your power with the power of the main Gekkai Sharingan. The next time you meet him, it won't end like this," Obito said in a cold tone. As he spoke, he sealed the black flame scattered in the cave into a scroll. Maybe. Hayes secretly thought in his heart, and an ominous premonition arose in his heart. He had a feeling that Uzumaki Naraku might be the biggest obstacle on his way to resurrecting Kaguya. "It seems that Konoha cannot be allowed to develop smoothly like this," Zetsu said. "Otherwise, we will be in trouble when we need Kyuubi in the future." Obito's face changed slightly when he heard what Zess said, and then he slowly said, "In that case, let this dirty ninja world be baptized with blood again." Obito murmured, "I'll leave it to you to negotiate with Kumogakuya. I have to go back first." Obito said as half of his body collapsed as he saw himself approaching collapse. "It is good." Zetsu nodded lightly, and then saw Obito use Kami to leave here. "In this case, the kingdom of wind and the kingdom of earth, don't be idle anymore." Chu opened his mouth and murmured to himself. Then his body gradually submerged into the mountain and disappeared. The kingdom of Tang. At the inn, the 4th Raikage stood in the room with a slight frown, an ominous premonition rising in his heart. You must know that as a shadow level powerhouse of his level, his 6th sense is very prepared. "How's it going in the village lately?" the 4th Raikage asked in a deep voice. "There is news from the village today that everything is fine, and all the Cheyenne adults have gathered their troops. As long as our plan succeeds, he will lead everyone to the border. When the army presses on the border, Konoha will definitely compromise," a person next to him said respectfully. There was a hint of excitement in his voice when he spoke. "His name is Nakaha. Although he is not very strong and has barely reached the level of Jounin, he has participated in the 2nd and 3rd Ninja Wars and has rich battlefield experience." The 4th Raikage had brought him over to show that he was ready for war. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.